welcome. All right. This is going to be such a fun and exciting episode. Buckle up, Buttercup, because we're going to talk about marketing and promotion. Look, here's the thing. I love this subject because this is not about getting in people's faces and annoying them with your product. This is about letting people who already really want to know about what you have getting to them. So, if you are a young person, you may not know that once upon a time, advertising was interesting and informative. I know, it's now just super annoying. That is what it has become in the 21st century. But once upon a time, and I know this is true because recently I got trapped by YouTube into watching a lot of holiday commercials from the 70s and 80s. And I was like, gosh, they really were good back then, weren't they? I mean, like
Campbell's.
They were actually good at entertaining even the local commercials because some of these were like, Midwestern. Come down to Al's, in Wampanoag. Okay. We will sell you cutting edge electronics. Look, it's a handheld calculator. Real commercial.
I remember those. I'm so old.
Yes. For the low price of $36.99.
I think I had a T-84 in high school.
But like these commercials used to be interesting. They were actually useful because they let you know what products were available at the price and where to get it. They were useful commercials. And I used to think like, oh, I just hate commercials. It's like, no, I just hate modern commercials. I actually still enjoy watching the old commercials because they satisfied that need to know and to also be a little entertained or at least to have something pleasant to look at. I mean, I honestly did not think that I would ever be like, oh, I like the old Wendy's commercials, but it turned out to. Show me the salad bar again.
Wendy's commercials are the best.
I miss some of the really wacky commercials from the 90s. Those got pretty trippy.
Yeah, those were like, I am too sober for this.
Have you seen the ice cream commercial from Japan where the guy's made of ice cream and eating his own head?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
No.
There's some weird commercials out there. It's a little scarring.
That just does sound traumatic. But my point is simply this. We are talking about that kind of marketing and promotion. The kind people actually want. The kind that is useful to them so they are not annoyed when you advertise to them because you are satisfying a desire they have to be informed and to be entertained. Because even if you were talking about a still photo, like a lot of campaigns are, as long as it is pleasing to look at, and we have great tips for how to make sure your ads are pleasing to look at, people are not going to be annoyed. They're annoyed when it looks like you're disrespecting them and still getting in their face with it. That's when people are annoyed. We're going to avoid all of that. So you will be appreciated by your readers and anybody you advertise to, and they're going to love you. That's what we're going to do today. It's going to be fantastic. Also, we have this amazing panel of people. Oop. There we go. Look, folks. They are all well-seasoned veterans of the industry at this point. They are all experts in their own right on a bunch of different subjects. So quite frankly, I could just sit back and eat my donut holes, which I might do in the middle because I'm hungry. So without further ado, we have Tom, Megan, Charlie, Laura, and we caught a wild Stephanie. I know. I'm really proud. I like to think it was like the subject matter, but So here we are in our cozy little homes. And take it away, y'all. What is the first thing you want to get off your chest? Go for it.
Okay, so there are different ways to do this, and you need to understand them because given the advent of this wonderful thing that we are on called the internet, We can now do content marketing, brand marketing, and advertising as 3 separate things, and only one of them has to cost you money. And it is so hard to get people to understand that content marketing and brand marketing are some of the best ways to get people into your products and into your services. And when done right, people will share them for you, and you will not have to pay to get people to see them. So, basic definitions. Content marketing is what a lot of us do with our vlogs. Vlogging is a form of content marketing where you are producing some form of content that people are interested in that is tangential to the actual product or service that you are selling. It's something that garners people's interest, brings them in, and then has a wonderful call to action at the end. Hey, buy my book. Buy my book. That's content marketing.
Charlie, thank you so much for saying the critic meme. So I don't have to, because it's been haunting me all week.
Oh, it's always in my head when I talk about marketing. Brand marketing is everything else that you're doing on your social media. It's all of the things that you're doing to put out the signs and signifiers of who you are, to attract the brand, to create the brand recognition, to attract the audience that may be interested in your product. So all of the music that you are sharing, all of the opinions you are putting out there, all of the memes that you are putting out that we've talked about previously, that is your brand marketing strategy. Advertising is what you're paying for. So understanding that when we're talking about an advertising strategy, that has to get very granular, because if you're advertising on a podcast network, that's going to be a very specific type of ad that varies from network to network, by the way, to get the actual success that you're wanting. If you're advertising directly on, say, Amazon, or if you're advertising using Google AdSense out there, advertising is very specific and very granular, and does cost more money than you think it will to achieve the results that you're probably wanting. Because there's a lot of A/B testing that needs to be done to ensure that you're doing your marketing properly with it. So for most of us who I know are, rolling in dough, maybe let's focus on the content marketing and brand marketing.
Look, what you do late at night with uncooked flour is between you and that surface.
I will admit that when I saw the video store, these MFers paid me in actual cash, and on a Sunday, so I could not deposit it. So I did go home and take a bunch of selfies with all the cash on the bed. Of like, when am I ever going to have $10,000 in cash just here ever again? Ever. Never, let alone in 50s and 100s. So yes, I did do like lots of selfies with like it splayed out like wrappers and yeah. Me too. Because like, and then yeah, the next day I deposited all the money. Look, you only live once. Have a good time. But anyway, continue.
But that's why I wanted to kind of set up the rubric, because when you understand the 3 different strategies that are out there, you can take other people's advice better. Because a lot of, especially the advice that you're getting on AuthorTube, are from people that are doing this through trial and error, and they don't actually have marketing experience. So their tips may be for content marketing or brand marketing, and you don't want to confuse those 2 things. Because if your brand is nothing but your content marketing, people will go, oh, you're a shill. And they won't care about what you're saying. So you need to have personality in your brand marketing that doesn't necessarily have to be the same level in your content marketing. And so once you understand, oh, these are the 3 main categories, when you get any tips or tricks from anybody, you know where to file it, as far as, oh, that's how I can use that to improve that one thing.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have things they wish to get off their chest? Off the bow?
So a lot of AuthorTubers will promote their books in their videos. Like, here's where to buy my books. And I I notice that some of them do it for like 5 minutes in the beginning of their video, and it gets very repetitive, and it's like, okay, whatever. So you end up like skipping. But sometimes authors don't even mention their book is out, and you get mad. Like, wait, what? I missed it?
May I say my first cancelable offense of the stream? AuthorTube is a bad place to market your books.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You should mention that you have books out. Let your audience know. But if you are doing a B2B site like we do here, where we're authors talking to other authors, that's not the best place to sell your books. You need to be building up a B2C content strategy where you're actually talking to readers. And so, yeah, spending 5 minutes on an AuthorTube video talking about trying to talk people into buying your books is a waste of your time and their time. And I hate to say that, because I know we like talking about our books and what we're doing. Do it in an entertaining way that adds value and helps you in other ways. But AuthorTube is not the place to sell a ton of books.
No, but it is a place to practice your pitch.
I was going to say, definitely if you have worked on a script, even like a 30 or 60-second script, definitely try it out on the AuthorTube videos, because why not? Nobody's going to be really annoyed, you know? And also after you edit and you watch it yourself again, you'll start picking up like, oh, I should like turn to the camera this way. You know, you'll start honing, revising what you're doing. So absolutely do practice, put them in your videos. Why not? You know, you've already written the script. Might as well.
It's kind of like how comedians practice their set in smaller venues before they take it to the bigger venue. You know, this works as like a smaller venue for you to practice on that you then take to the bigger venue where you're actually going to be seen by the people who are going to really want your product and really enjoy what you have to offer. And by then you've worked on it to the point that it's, you know, at a better quality to offer to them. So you're not like practicing on your target audience.
And Laura's doing a really good job with this, where she's promoting a lot of her stuff to AuthorTube and kind of testing out how to talk about stuff. But then you look at her pen name account, that is very writer-reader conversation going on there. And I know every time I see a post over there, I'm like, when do I get this book?
Yeah, it's very polished. It's very smooth and very lookable, watchable, you know, interactive without being annoying or too rough you. It's exactly what consumers are more interested in.
So for my pen name one, I'm using Canva for Instagram. I am putting quotes from my draft with the page number, just so you can see, like, this is what's going to be in the book. It's not completely polished yet, but here's a taste. And then I used Artbreeder to come up with portraits so that you could see the cast of characters. And then I spent money and commissioned artwork.
So that is very inbound marketing, which is a term where the point is to get people to come to you. You're not necessarily going out to the people, like putting up advertisements. You're trying to attract them to you and get them interested in what you have to offer to then, you know, market to them your product. I really like I don't know if this is necessarily too deep into it, but I like the flywheel model for creating marketing campaigns. It's let me pull up the website so I'm not like getting it wrong. But so the first phase is where your attract phase. You attract visitors with useful content, with interesting content, which is what Laura is doing with posting the quotes. It's getting people interested in the work, and it's telling them something about what she's writing so that they know, like, oh, hey, this is for me. Or maybe they're like, well, maybe this actually isn't for me. And that's really good to, help people self-identify as whether they're interested in something or not. The next phase is called the engage phase, where you actually engage with the audience and try to get them to purchase from you. This is how you make it easy for them to buy. The next phase in the marketing is the delight phase, where you then you basically make them really happy with the product, and you find ways to you make sure you, if you're if you're giving out physical copies of the book, make sure it ends up to them on time, is not like taking too long to get to them, basic kind of service things. So you have to, and that will get customers to then recommend your product to others, which attracts people and starts the cycle over and over again. So the point is to make each phase of your marketing work for that. Am I explaining this well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing a good
Okay,
job.
good. I'm just making sure, because yes.
If you want to see the flywheel in action, I know I've tricked a lot of you to start Substacks lately.
Yes.
And you can actually see this in the way that they have set their product up. So they give you, every time you post a post over there, automatically generated social media posts that you can just put out there. They're making your Instagram picture for you if you want to use it. That is your first step. That's your trying to attract people in, getting people interested. I've actually gotten quite a few subscriptions from those posts going out on Instagram. So yay for that. It works. The second step where you're pulling people in is the actual content itself, making sure that your story is good, that people are getting interested in it. Now, how do you interact with them? They've added a chat feature. It can be either free or for pay, and you can create a thread, get people talking. Once you have people in there talking, realizing I want to engage with this brand, here we go. And then you have the kicker. Everything at the bottom says, would you like to subscribe? Would you like to give me money? Here are the ways you can give me the money. And the other smart thing that they did is, like with Twitch, people can give gift subscriptions if you've turned that on and boost you that way, which, I think that's a smart thing that everything should have. But that's every step that Megan was just talking about, which are the features that they built first for their platform. So you can do each and every one of these steps just within the environment that they've already created for you.
Yes.
Thought that was a decent example of what you were saying.
Yes, that was a perfect example. Of
I think so. Stephanie, what's on your chest? What you got?
What is Substack? This is the first I've heard of it, so delight me with words, people. What is Substack?
Charlie, go for the pitch.
Have I been living under a rock or something?
Substack is billing itself currently as the one-stop shop to build your own private social network because of the features that they're building. Basically, it is a place where you can set up your website, your blog, and your newsletter as one thing. So once you have it set up, you can collect people's email addresses. All of your posts go out to everyone that has subscribed to you like a newsletter would. They have added chat features, which will allow you to start creating a community. They allow you to set up your own podcast there. So you can start doing either a free or a paid podcast through them. And they've just started a video beta so that you can start actually posting video exclusive to their site to continue building the brand up. I was looking for a place to move my newsletter because MailChimp, why are you? Like, why, what have you done to yourself? Like,
Amen to that.
every time I would go in to write a newsletter, it's such a soul crushing, like, I hate their interface. It was just, I did not want to use it, and I was looking for somewhere else to go. And when I found Substack, I got very excited because of the basic philosophy of the company, which I hope they stick with, that they only make money when we make money. The only thing that you have to pay for on their site is if you want to set up a custom domain. They have a one-time charge for setting up a custom domain. So if you want yourauthorname.com to point to this rather than using the domain that they give you, there's a one-time fee for that. Everything else, they take a cut of what you make. So they only make money if you make money. And every relationship, business relationship I've ever had that's been built on that kind of a relationship, the tools have gotten better. The tools have improved because I'm not the product. What I'm selling is the product. And they have as much interest in making that good as I do. So I'm really excited to be using them. I have been watching my newsletters growing over there at a rate that they have never grown before. And it's not just because I've been mentioning them, because their analytics are really good and they tell you where your new subscribers are coming from, like what was the last page they were on. And the vast majority of them have been coming from Instagram or directly through the app and website. Through discoverability on
I've been
the site
getting mostly direct from the website, which is like, what is this? Who are these folks? Why are they interested in me?
And they've got me not only blogging again, which is really fun and helping me get stuff off my chest, but I have a full business plan for how I'm going to be releasing the books going forward, including the ones that I feel like would be best as serials. Because they have a really good serialization engine built in where I can actually make some money off of doing that for people that are interested in continuing to read the series. So I'm really excited to be playing with them. And I have, through my enthusiasm, convinced a lot of people to start playing with them.
Like a significant chunk of AuthorTube.
It really feels like that, yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the nice things it does well, unlike even Twitch used to and now doesn't, is it's very easy to recommend your friends.
Yep.
If someone likes you, you can put, hey, here are the other people I like and here's why I like them, and I think you might like them as well. And so you can create, a rising tide situation. Instead of, it's hard to convert your consumers over to your friends' consumers as well. Because, years ago, that's how Twitch worked.
Yes.
And now, Twitch does not let you do that, really.
Yep.
All those features have slowly just stopped functioning the way they used to.
And the one thing that I will say that I like about trying to build the platform over there is, like, with the chaos going on with Twitter right now, I don't know when they're going to go out of business, but it feels inevitable. And so I can't take that audience with me. I can tell them, hey, I'm over here now, and if they want to, they can follow me. With something like building up a newsletter, and this is why newsletters are so important, if I decide I don't like Substack, I click export. I collect all of those email addresses, I go somewhere else, and I upload them to the new list, and I continue going. As far as my readership knows, nothing changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can move them with me, which gives me as the business owner more control over my platform. I am not tied to them. When I got a notice from MailChimp that I would have to start paying them to send out an email, which was weird because I was on the free forever plan and they had given me a whole bunch of those like email credits that somehow don't count anymore. I could be like, okay then, goodbye, and take my audience with me. You can't do that with Instagram or TikTok or any YouTube even, or Twitch. That audience is locked into that platform. Having something that is yours, that you control and manage the relationship that you have with your readers, with your fans, is so vitally important if you're going to be doing marketing. It's really upsetting because Amazon has announced that they are going to be offering a newsletter tool for authors. I don't know when this is going to come out because they've said it, and then it's like everything from Amazon, like eventually we'll get around to it. Daddy needs another rocket.
And it'll never come to Canada.
Yeah, probably never come to anywhere outside the United States. But I don't want their newsletter tool. They're trying to do that so that they are the intermediary between you and your audience. Because that is where the actual value is. Who controls the relationship you have with your readers, with your fans? If it's not you, you are subservient to that other platform. And for someone like me who built up not a huge Twitter following, but had over 3K followers on Twitter, they're going to be gone. Like a lot of them already are because they just left the platform. Like I deleted it off of my phone because one, I got tired and depressed of seeing everybody's tweets of, well, this is my last tweet because I can't be in this chaos anymore. Right? So I've lost all of those relationships that I spent over a decade building up. And that's why you need to have some place where you are in control. And that is the main reason having a newsletter matters.
Mm-hmm.
That is what everybody's been saying for years, and I felt this pressure to do his newsletter. But I used to do a newsletter in the early 90s through all of the 90s and the early 2000s. Like, I've done my time. I've done 20 years of newsletters, like so long ago that I was doing them on Ditto machines. And I'm tired of, it's exhausting to make these, especially on my own when, it's like, do people even want this? Why am I doing this? And like Substack makes that very different. And that was my issue with why I was having trouble, like sort of this writer's block about doing newsletters, was just all the old trauma coming back every time. And with Substack, it's like, no, they're opting in. It's very easy to opt out. And it can be a blog that's just conveniently delivered to your email. So you don't have to remember to go check somebody's blog on a regular basis. Also, Substack has an RSS feature. So those who are still using RSS can have your posts show up in their RSS.
Okay, other really cool tool, they have a dual RSS feature. If you go to your actual dashboard, not your writer dashboard, you can pull in RSSs from other websites to read and use them as just an RSS reader, which is really cool. So if there's a blog that you want to subscribe to that isn't on Substack, but they have an RSS feed, you can pull it in as well. Like they feel in a way like that medium between, to use really archaic terms that are going to make me feel old, Web 1.0 and Web 2.0, where it's a very social site. They have all of the likes, the comments, and all of the social networking that you're expecting from Web 2.0 with your Facebooks and Twitters and everything like that, but with this idea of personal ownership that you had back in the Web 1.0 days, where you had to build your own website or you didn't have one. And it's like the really nice medium between the two. And ironically, I'm very glad that I picked them because my actual favorite newsletter tool was Review, that got closed the day I decided to use Substack because they were owned by Twitter and Elon Musk closed them without telling anybody.
That melon husk.
We do seem to be developing nicknames for all of them, huh? Like Robert Galbraith and the Melon Husk and so on.
And the angriest Cheeto.
But yes, Stephanie, what are your thoughts about marketing and promotion? Like,
well, I feel like as the different things work better different times a year. Yeah. And it also depends on like the genre of what you are writing. So let's say you're writing like romance books. Obviously, they're going to do better during certain times of year than others. And then like if all of your marketing is like on social media or online and none of it's in person, certain time of year, people are going to be online more than others. I feel like in the summertime, people are not online as much as they are during not summer months, in my experience, just because they're more like outside and outdoors and things like that, in the types of weather that you're able to. Now, if you're like, I don't know, in the deep south and it's 110 degrees on the 4th of July, you're obviously.
Why are you coming for me, Steph?
Actually, I was in Texas on the 4th of July. It was 109 degrees outside, so I was talking about my experience. So I'm just saying, like, okay, my very first book was not a romance book. My very first book, I talked about it a lot on Instagram, shared a ton of quotes, and that really worked out well for me. And then I talked about it in person, and I sold a lot of books in person. But that technique did not work as well with my romance novels. So not everything is going to work the same way for each of your products that you have out there, be it a song or a podcast or a comedy show or a book or some like class that you're doing online.
I do feel like I've noticed my our viewing numbers have recently upticked as the weather has cooled down for most of the US.
I've noticed that too. Like my viewing of my things that I put out there and like likes and follows and all that have gone up higher since the deadly heat of summer has passed us by.
Yeah. So I do see that there, because like I remember years ago they talked about one day September won't come. So it used to be that back when the internet was young and fresh, every September there would be a new influx of people who had never experienced the internet before. And so for like really September and October, sometimes into November, it would be like a whole rush of newbies who truly did not know what they were doing, as well as bringing their own internet newness with them. And so you just sort of avoided the internet for about 2 months till everything settled down and people stopped pushing conspiracy theories and also being ugly online, and everything would settle down. People would like calm down and things were fine by winter. And they were talking even in the early 2000s about one day September will not come because everyone will be on the internet and there will not be a new wave as people get access. And like, I remember hearing about that and going, oh, one day everyone will know how to act. I mean,
oh, the fantasies. It was so long ago.
Actually,
people still don't know how to act online.
Actually, I want to disagree with you. I think people have figured out how to act online because it's all about aggrandizement and getting a certain amount of clout. And the horrible things are what are getting them that, because we reward the wrong things.
But, nevertheless, I thought that with everybody having access to the internet and being familiar with it, that there wouldn't be this, everything on the internet is new. Did you all know? And it was always the same links in the chat rooms that people would post every September and October and November. Like, did you know? And it's like, yes, we all knew. We've been here the whole time. And yet, ironically, to some degree, it's still sort of like that. But as you point out, it does seem to be somewhat weather related. As people stay indoors more, they get on the internet more and watch more things, and they interact with more people on the internet.
I imagine post Christmas is when you see a large uptick in new people now, because people are getting new devices and getting on the web, maybe for the first time.
Well, see, this is also one of the reasons why I encourage people, if you feel comfortable and want to do it, to have a podcast. Podcasting does not have that seasonality because people are outside with their headphones in listening to their podcasts. They're listening to them in their cars while they're driving to the events that they're going to. So it is one of those places, unlike a video service where people are sitting down to watch a video, even if it's just on their phone while they're waiting for something. Podcasts are something you can have in your ears while you're just walking through a park.
Mm-hmm.
And so people do bring those with you.
Or cleaning the house.
Yeah, or cleaning the house.
So
that seasonality disappears in that market.
This specific one I thought would actually be pretty good for anyone who's watching this episode. This is from Zara's podcast where she talked with her publishing professor. And he actually works in the industry. And in one or two parts, he specifically discusses the seasonality of publishing. And while he works mostly in nonfiction, he has worked in fiction a little bit, and he talks about which genres you tend to see more of, which times of year. And so it is a good little discussion to kind of keep in mind of when are people interested and what kind of buyers are there, depending on the time of year, of like people in October, November are buying books as gifts / trying to find books as gifts. And so it's not necessarily for them to consume. It's books that sound interesting that they want to give to others without consuming themselves. I know, it's weird.
People are odd.
Versus, and the same actually goes for in March and April. That is when life advice books go out, as well as romance, really become big for new graduates. People are just starting, and so they want to find out more of like, okay, now what? And that's when these books actually start to take off. And so it is definitely a good one to listen to.
That's one of the reasons why I get frustrated when I don't have a book for the Christmas season to come out. Because the kind of books that I write have a very nostalgic quality to them that people are like, oh, that reminds me of like a Star Wars or like a Lord of the Rings or like a, you know, and they're like, oh, a friend of mine likes a Star Wars. Maybe they would like this book. You know, and because I'm writing in more golden and silver age genres that, you know, have a different appeal, holiday seasons are very big for my stuff. And once you realize that about yourself, that helps you out so much. And
one thing I wanted to comment about, finding the right time for you marketing your book is that it takes a lot longer than you expect to create the marketing stuff. So you want to get started like 6 months in advance, at least, in my opinion, honestly, just because it takes so long to create all the necessary media that you're going to be sharing. It takes time to figure out what you're even doing and where you're going to be marketing your book and figuring out all the details. So you want to get started as early as possible, just so you aren't like floundering when it comes time to actually do the marketing and when you don't want to miss out on the prime time to market your book. Oops, I have a phone call. I'll be back.
To reinforce what Megan was saying, remember, it takes about 7 to 10 times for somebody to see your name or the name of your book for it to get into their brain as a possibility. Very few people are
20 to 30 before they even make a conscious decision.
Yep. So you need to start that marketing as soon as you possibly can so that people are going, maybe, maybe, and start building up those maybes. And that's how you get a yes. This is why when I was talking earlier about brand marketing and content marketing, having things out there that people can stumble upon are the best early ways to start getting people interested in your stuff, getting other people excited so that they're sharing the pictures of your pretty vampire characters, for example, is a great way to start getting people excited about this book, right? Because I look at that, it made me think of a couple animes that I really enjoyed because of the style of the art and made me want to read it even more. But you have to start that process way before you think you do. If you're about to hit publish and you haven't started marketing yet, you've got an uphill climb.
And like to give you a professional example that we've all seen. When does Hallmark start mentioning their Christmas movies? They start that in the end of August and September.
Yep.
And the movies don't come out till November. And that's and they are blitzing the audience with their media and marketing, and they're still expecting to take that long before they've reached saturation with people.
And I mean, their market is already primed. They are already anticipating it because Hallmark has established the schedule for this type of film, and yet they are still doing it. Trust me, they ain't gonna do nothing they don't have to. I promise you, they are trying to make the money, and they are not going to do jack that they don't have to. So if they are doing this, it's because everything about their research has told them this is when you got to do it. And so just think about that. This is an audience that is anticipating yearly, starting at Easter. I know this from experience. The little old biddies would start coming in at Easter going, do you have a list of the Hallmark Christmas movies coming out? And I'm like, from last year? And they're like, no, I already watched all those. No, the new ones. And I'm like, ma'am, they are probably still filming them. They probably haven't even started filming them. They're still writing them. And they're like, but surely they already know the title of what it's about. And I'm like, you could write to Hallmark, but they have not publicly put, like, I'm having to go on their website and look. And I'm like, it's not there. Go right to Hallmark. They are emailing Hallmark about this, y'all. But at least they're emailing them, and I don't have to email them.
And this is where you can see the mad geniuses over at Disney who are the really good marketers. About 2 years out, they tell you the name. They don't tell you any of the facts, who's going to be in it, what it's going to be about, but the names are out there. How long have we known that this new Avatar movie is coming out, right? About 2 years ago, they just, Avatar 2 is going to be coming out in 2022. They just mentioned it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as they got closer, a little bit more information here, a little bit more there, to the point where if you look at the marketing, the actual trends for it, it will probably make more money than Black Panther 2 in its opening weekend, because the interest in it is frighteningly high in a way that I don't feel. But when you actually look at what, Parrot Analytics and others are seeing for it, they did their job and they got it into people's heads, and they're remembering, oh yeah, I remember going to the theater and having my mind blown by this beautiful movie. I want to go have my mind blown again by another beautiful movie.
And they've been working on the effects for years for that movie.
Yeah.
And another example is Pixar. Pixar, 2 years ago started releasing just the name of their upcoming movie, Elemental.
Yep.
Just so people would have a clue, and then it was another 6 months before they even gave any clue what this movie would be about. But it's so that there's a little bit of background noticing of it, so that when they do the real marketing push, people are already primed.
Well, and Pixar will also even put Easter eggs in other movies about movies that haven't even come out yet. Just for people to find and guess ooh, is this going to be another?
There are Easter Inside Out for movies that they canceled because they hadn't made that decision by the time that movie came out.
And also, graphic artists are bored a lot, so.
But also, the MCU, it's let's announce the entire phase. Here are all the titles, and so you have time to be okay, I need to see this one, and I need to see this one. And oh my gosh, there's a horror one coming out! Yes, and just drum up the excitement.
And that doesn't stop them from every 6 months changing the lineup and changing which ones are still on the slate, which ones are getting canceled, or which ones have been put in. But it is a great anticipatory priming, and that is probably one thing we haven't mentioned as much that people outside of marketing don't hear often, and that is priming your audience.
Yes.
That is a surprisingly necessary and needed step that is rarely discussed outside profession.
Yeah.
And this is that brand thing that I was talking about earlier, where they're putting it out there. So Armor Wars, they just mention, and then what they're looking for is the super fans to start talking about this. They're trying to gather that market research. That's why they mentioned it so far out. Don Cheadle hadn't even signed a contract to come back to play Rhodey yet when they announced it. But now they know how much they're willing to pay him based off of the initial excitement over this thing coming out. They've turned it from a Disney Plus show into a movie because they can see how people are complaining. Why isn't it a movie? Everybody else from Iron Man got a movie. Where's the War Machine movie? And so they're taking that as a listening phase, and that's something that we can do too. Which is why talking about your projects early is important, because you start hearing what are the people in your target market interested in, especially as you start growing a fan base and people that are actually readers. What is exciting them? Maybe you should lean a little bit more in that direction and start priming them for what's coming up. Go.
Oh, I was just going to say, and it takes a couple of times. It takes more than once for something to stick in people's mind, unless it's like, no, even then you've got to get them seeing the content multiple times in order for them to even recognize, like, oh, hey, this is something I might be interested in. It takes that that familiarity in order for people to get excited about something.
So one thing that Disney does incredibly well for their parks is they will announce like a ride is going to come, and all the super fans will be like, okay, it's in this building, we have this much square footage, they have done patents for this type of ride vehicle, and they will theorize about what kind of ride it could be. And they go through all of the patents, all of the work, who's put on it, which Imagineers, and it's just so fun to like do all the guesswork. And then finally it's announced and unveiled.
Anticipation is more of a reward for people's brains than actually achieving the goal. You get more of a high from anticipating than from getting the thing. So I think the more you can give that anticipation factor to people, the happier they're actually going to be.
And let them have a final destination in mind as you're dropping these hints. Like when you
do that dopamine hit.
When you do your cover reveal, do have a pre-order ready so that they get the glimpse and be like, okay, I know where I'm going. I've put my money down. I have put my down payment on my Disney vacation. I know where I'm going and when I'm going. I put in my pre-order for this book. I know like where it's going. And in the meantime, I can get more and more excited and pull more and more people onto this bandwagon.
And don't think that this can't happen to you. I still get emails about my Pharaoh series that has been out of print for 6-7 years now, where people are still speculating about what's the reboot going to look like, because it's been off the shelf for a while. It's going to be coming back, right? Like I get emails from people that are like living in hopes that this series is going to be making a comeback. And who knows, maybe it will. I haven't really thought about it in a long time, but every time I get one of those emails, I'm like, maybe I should be writing that dark gothic horror sci-fi thing.
Maybe
but you can get that for your own stuff if you create enough, if you get those true fans, which is something marketing is good for.
I do love raving fans.
So one way that I am getting more support for my pen name is sharing snippets on streams with other people, sharing my first draft with people who are reading it and giving me feedback, and they're telling other people about it, and it's really cool. And it's just like, this might actually have legs.
Word of mouth marketing is like the most powerful marketing out there, because it has that level of trust that you have to have from another person to like, oh, I trust this person's opinion. Maybe I should check it out. It's not like some stranger on the internet. Like, yeah, maybe they're a bot. Who knows? There's that extra layer of trust there that makes word of mouth marketing so effective and powerful.
Like I've been working on my branding, I guess, marketing. Like I have been trying to hone my craft so much over the past years, and getting all of these publications under my belt has been helping me feel like there's hope for this project. It's not just it's my first ever nano, let me hit publish. Like I'm trying to make it something kind of quality at least. So like just having worked on myself and trying to build my reputation of trying to make things that are at least semi-polished. So it gets people excited more.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about these streams is we get all the opinions from Laura, who's working on like becoming more polished, and me, who's just like, I just need to be more trash. Like, I've realized my market. Like, I put in too much effort, y'all. Like, yeah. Welcome to Trash Time with Charlie. Like, let's go. Like, I'm going in the exact opposite direction.
Welcome to Trash. What are you, like, Oscar the Grouch?
Oh.
Welcome to Trash Time.
Okay, so you haven't seen.
Welcome. Thanks for listening to my podcast here on Sesame Street.
Okay, so I'm just saying there is a draft of a book I've been working on for some time that I think only Jace has seen. That is pure white hot trash. Like, dark, billowy black clouds of soot are rising off of this trash fire into the distance, and if it does see the light of day, dear God, I'm sorry, not sorry.
I will keep all dry brush away.
Oh yeah, it is pure unadulterated trash.
All right, so is it time for a little break?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think maybe it's time for us to do our first little sprinty sprint.
And my brain could use a refresher.
Yeah, give people a little break. And when we come back, we lost Steph.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When we come back, what shall we discuss, y'all? Where do you want to go next?
I think we should spend some time actually discussing how brand marketing works and developing an author brand in a way that's not the BS that most people put out there. Like,
oh, good, because every time people talk about marketing yourself as an author, I'm like, brain cannot compute. Delete, delete, delete.
Yeah, having a good author brand is important, and dear God, do most people that talk about it not know what a brand is.
And also, it just seems daunting and overwhelming for my ADHD little brain to like.
You gotta break it down into smaller pieces.
Yes, I need smaller pieces. So.
I got you.
Stephanie, see more?
Yum, yum, yum. So, we're going to take a little breaky break. And when we come back, we will talk about branding for those who are like moi and need little baby bites of how to do it. Because you would think after all these decades of sales that I would be better at it. And yet, no, not at myself. Like, I can brand anyone else, but me, no. So, yes, enjoy. May I recommend that in this time, if you don't know what to do and you don't feel like writing, what about a lovely snack? Or a warm, delicious drink? Or a little walk around? And we will see you back here in approximately 10 minutes. Beep-a-da-beep. Beep-a-da-beep-a-da-beep-a-da-beep. Beep-a-da-beep. Beep-a-da-beep-a-da-beep-a-da-beep. Welcome back. Welcome. Tom, bring on the meat. During the break, Tom took all the smoked meats out of the smoker.
Most
of them.
The turkey breast's still going.
Excuse me. All right.
It is like a
So here we go.
6-pound turkey breast.
Brian, look.
Brian, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. What do we got? This is
pork loin.
This is the pork loin.
Ooh.
That looks so good.
Nom, nom.
I want to go to there.
Me too.
Yes, come and I will make you a plate. Look at the glisten, my children. Look at the glisten. It's so heavy, y'all. That's why.
It's 7
Your
pound.
arm workout.
It's very heavy, and then it's a ceramic plate. So this is solid 10 pound. It's a 10-pound baby. I'm like, trying to be heavy. And then these are the turkey wings that Tom also smoked.
Ooh.
I want to go to there.
Because I wanted some to make grains for Thanksgiving. So Tom's like, I'll just smoke them. I'm not going to buy them. And then also a turkey back, a spine, because principles.
Might as well smoke it too.
Right?
Some of the best meat on the turkey's in the spine.
Yeah, it is actually. And then the turkey breast is still in the smoker because it's what, 6 pounds?
Yeah, so
It's a big boy. So that is what we did during the break. How about y'all?
We watched Adam Ragusia's PSA. Acorns, maybe just leave them on the ground.
Right?
Yes, they're technically edible. Technically. The important word is technically. If you were experiencing a famine, maybe do all the work required to make them not.
It's a lot of work, isn't it? I actually remember I've told you about my little house phase. 10-year obsession with like prairie living in the 1800s, and then therefore my obsession with Victorian medicine. And it included, how to subsist on the land, because you never know when like blizzards will ruin your crops or some crap. And how many times you have to boil acorns and then dry them out to make the acorn flour, and then you still have to make pancakes, and it's like, it's tired. You know what? The squirrels can have it.
I think he said it took him 4 to 6 hours to boil the tannins out of the acorns.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, that's a long time.
Well, because you want kidneys, so
Yeah.
you don't want that.
And then you have to dry them before you can use them. Like that's not like, and now they're usable. It's now you get to start the other processes.
Right, dry them, mill them, and then make pancakes or whatever out of it. And then the most disappointing part was years later finding people who had actually done it, and they're then taste testing, going, "Oh, they're not that great." And it's like, well, what?
I did enjoy the way he said technically edible so many times. Like the other really good one was after he made the pancakes with them.
Doesn't mean you should.
Right?
Oh, the best part was when he made the pancakes with them. He was like, "It's better than famine," by which I mean, if you're starving, it's food.
Like at that point, I'd rather just dig up random roots,
It's fun.
Make it too popular. How did everyone else's sprint go? You feel better? Nia says pork loin is my favorite. Nia?
I'm eating my ramen.
Oh, yum, yum, yum. Nia, let me tell you now. I am a very picky eater when it comes to chicken, poultry and pork, because it can be so dry if it's not handled properly. So understand that I am a very picky eater. And that is why if I'm like, behold the pork loin, it's going to be good. I've had other people who tell me they don't eat pork, haven't eaten pork in 10 years. And then they ate some of our smoked pork loin. And we're like, oh my God, is this what I've been missing? They go back to other people's pork. Never mind. No, it's because I am that picky.
Wasn't it y'all's pork loin that almost ruined a marriage?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So
There
I'm a
was
little.
this most recent. I found out there was a lot of discussion whether to share
So you're cutting down just a scooch top.
in that marriage.
So you asked what we did on that break.
Yes.
It was only a 10-minute break. I'm a little bit far away from our RV where we're at in the campground for me to run to the RV and back to get a snack. So I asked my children to bring me an energy drink, which they did.
Let me see what you got.
Energy drink.
What is that?
It has it's like 15 calories, no added sugar.
Okay.
Nice.
And I can drink it and it doesn't give me a
That's
heartbeat
nice.
rush. And then I said, there's the apple pie on the stove. Do you think you could put some of it into a bowl and bring it to me?
Did they bring you the whole pie? Yep. They're like, why bother, Mama? Yep. Better than they not bring it.
It is. They've abdicated their interest in the pie. All of the pie is yours. If they
They're
ask
like,
for
pie for Mama.
you're like, no, you gave it to me. You can't have any anymore.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, fine. They're like, what? It's not
better that or like, and this is true. Like our little sister would just give us the crust top. It's like that is not pie. She's like, yes, it was part of the pie. Like, I know somebody who likes the filling. I'm gonna share that.
Well, I'm usually not a fan of apple pie. There's been 2 apple pies that I've liked. There's this small old-fashioned restaurant in Bridgeport, Texas that has apple pie that's served in a frying pan, like a those metal skillets, and it comes out sizzling with ice cream. It's really good. It has brandied sugar on it. It's really sweet, but it's good. And then there's this apple pie that came from Sam's Club.
Yeah, I have to admit, the Sam's Club apple pie is pretty darn good.
But I don't like fruit pies of any kind, unless you call banana cream pie a fruit, but not really. I mean, you do. I mean,
it's a cream pie.
Banana is a fruit, but it's not like chunky fruit like cherry or apple or blueberry pie.
So what's the name of the energy drink? Because I'm always looking for those that are not heavily sugared. It's
it's called Alani New. Let me Okay. I saw it on Kate Wismer's blog and I was like, hey, what are you drinking? And then she told me, and she said she found it at Walmart. And so then we were at a Walmart and they had all the flavors. And so I got one of every flavor so I could test them all out. And I like 3 of the flavors. One of them tastes like a horrible cherry Slurpee, really gross cherry Slurpee. And there's another one that is sour, but this one is called Breezeberry. And then there's another one called Cosmic Stardust that really is really good. It's not super sweet. And it doesn't give me a rush or a sugar crash afterwards because there's no sugar in it. It says 0 grams of sugar, 0 added sugar, 1 gram of sugar alcohol. That's it. And it's 15 calories. There's 200 milligrams of caffeine in a bottle.
Yeah, it's I just want a lightly flavored, maybe carbonated drink. Is it so hard? I don't want something really sweet.
It's a little carbonated. It has a little bit of sweetness to it, but I don't know where the sweetness comes from because there's no sugar added. But yeah, I used to drink a lot of Monsters, but I like these better. Because the Monsters can be really sweet.
Nice.
Erythritol.
So that was my doctor calling to remind me about an appointment I forgot that I had. It was supposed to be at 3:00 today. They're canceling it, but I'm like, can you make sure before the doctor goes home, because he doesn't feel well, I'm like, can you make sure he at least refills my ADHD meds before he goes? Because I really need those.
Nice.
So I might be getting another call back just to confirm that the medication has gone through. So if I get another call, that's what it is.
All right. So we were going to talk about branding.
Branding.
Who wants to go first?
I think that's a hard thing to define.
I think it is. Because that's partly what's so overwhelming for me is I'm I don't know. I'm just me.
Branding is setting the expectations of others for your product.
I've
Branding is
niched so far
role-playing
down,
game.
there's already expectations.
Branding is a role-playing game that you play with the public, and that's
Yes.
probably the best way to think of it. There are two characters that are rolled up. There's the character for the author and the character for the audience. And honestly, the character for the audience is only going to be helpful if you're spending money on ads, because you need to know the age group and there's very specific demographics that you're going to be targeting. So I talk a lot about your author persona, and I really do mean that. This is what you're mainly building when you're starting your brand. Is you want people interested in you. If you want a career as a writer, yes, you want a brand for your books, and we can talk about that in a minute, but you need a brand. And it doesn't always have to be a good brand, as people have taught us. Like, I love so many Anne Rice books, but her brand has never been shiny. Like, there's never been a moment where it's like, oh yes, this wonderful person. Like, she's always been a contentious, like, how dare you like my books? Why
No
are you
fan
here?
fiction allowed.
Oh, she's been cranky her entire career.
Yes.
She
Yeah,
was
that's
cranky
true.
her entire career, her entire life. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a shiny, happy persona. But it's one that made sense for her writing. You could see the obsession she had with characters like Lestat and several of the others. And that obsession is kind of what we got into her books for. So we were able to connect with her even through her crankiness, because, yes, too, I am obsessed with Lestat de Lioncourt. Like, yes, tell me more about the brat prince of the vampires. Yes. Yes. Tell me about how he spit in God's face because God wasn't good enough for him, and then went, oh, that means I'm the devil's now. God, I love you. Like, yes, tell me more. Tell me more. So when you're creating your character sheet for who you are as a brand, you need to be thinking about what is the persona that you are going to be bringing forward. Now, if you're doing multiple pen names, which hit your bingo card is an ecumenical matter, whether or not you should be doing that. You need to, you will have to make one for each of those pen names. I'm not going to get into that argument right now.
And also, another thing to always keep in mind when creating personas. Personas are caricatures.
Yes.
You take the full person, and then you just highlight a few certain key aspects. And that is a persona. It is not your full rounded personality.
No.
That is not Neil Gaiman's full personality that you see interviewed.
But he has one of the better personas. Like, it's very, like, it's a brand. You can recognize it.
Same with Terry Pratchett. It was a brand. It was not a strong masculine brand. Man, did he have a high-pitched voice.
Right?
And a lisp, too.
And lisp.
So you need to ask yourself simple questions like, what is the kind of thing that you're going to be working on? What is the kind of work that you're going to be producing? For me, like I said before, I'm very much like a Golden Age, Silver Age fan who is basically perpetuating those stories and hopefully updating them enough so that they don't feel dated. But that's the kind of story that I want. So parts of my brand identity is talking about my love for things like the Lensman, which, if you don't know what the Lensman is, you might not be in my target directly.
You might be a little too young.
Oh, it may be in a Netflix series, and I am so worried. That's why.
Oh, I just feel like there's gonna be a repeat of John Carter.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a problem. But like, talking about these things that I like, bringing up authors like Robert E. Howard, who I do feel is a very good parallel for the type of writing that I do, because it's Robert E. Howard if he was super gay. Whereas he was super masculine. I talked a lot about the lady bits. I do the opposite in the other direction. Enjoy my stuff. But knowing those things about your brand are really important. And they should be you. They should be aspects of you. If you feel caged in by the persona that you are crafting, it won't last long. It will lead you to burnout. It will lead you to some very dark places in your brain where you will feel like an imposter, because you are. You are living a completely separate existence from who you are. And if that starts getting attention, well, it's hard to argue imposter syndrome if you're playing a character that is not you. And people like the character that is not you more than you. So you should try to include as much of your personal traits as you feel comfortable with on that character sheet. So yeah, my stories are a little bit trashy. I use that phrase a lot because, well, I am kind of writing a romance right now about Santa and Krampus and maybe ending up in a quintuplet at the end of it. Like, there's probably going to be a love clump at the end of the story. Like, it is trash. But it's okay, because if you like this kind of trash, it's wholesome trash. And that's kind of the brand that I am building for myself. And knowing those buzzwords, figuring out how you can perform this character in a way that is comfortable. That's what this character sheet is about. If you are going to be writing spooky stuff, oddly enough, there are two paths for this. Be either very giggly and bubbly, because I know so many horror writers who make a good living being giggly, bubbly people at tables, because there's a wonderful stereotype of horror writers who are like, it's all on the page. I've got all of the darkness out of me. Which goes for like Clive Barker. If you've never seen an interview with Clive Barker, he is this oddly wholesome gay man who will sit there and talk to you about all of his wonderful little dreams and stuff. And then like, what are you working on? Oh, I'm working on this lovely painting about this person having their skin ripped off of them as their soul is being ripped from their body as they're being dragged into the pit of hell. It's kind of lovely. I really like the reds and the pinks, but I'm having trouble getting the orange. And you're just like, oh, honey, you're so broken. I love you. But it's a good persona because he's not lying about who he is. He is an oddly wholesome person who writes really gory horror stories. And he just leans into that, and it works for him. Or you go the other way and you do the Poppy Z-Bright thing, and you're like, hello, I am Asriel Abyss, and just like lean into the full goth of it and do your hair up and put your makeup and your nails on and all of the leather and collars and stuff and show up at the events and have fun that way. But know the character that you feel comfortable playing, because it is a performance. Anytime you go out on stage, whether it's on YouTube, on a podcast, or at an event, you are playing a character on stage. And you need to know the basics of that character. Glory has one of my favorite characters because she knows the kinds of stories she writes. She is a Southern storyteller. That's who she is. No matter what she could write, and we could co-author an epic sci-fi story. And it will have this like story, like you will imagine somebody on the bow of a starship in a rocking chair with a chartreuse in their hand going, let me tell you about the Great War in the South.
Oh, really? I was totally just going to go for
me on my own channel. I love you, darling.
Tell me about Hobbiton in space.
Right? But this is the story we would tell, and it would be fabulous, and I kind of want to write
it's like, did I ever tell you that time where I ended up on a ship that hobbits had stole away on? And then adventure happened, and we had to throw gear into a supernova.
So when are you guys writing this? Because I need that story. Like,
but this is a really good brand because you know what you're going to be getting when you read one of Glory's stories. It has this feeling that she's in the room talking to you. She has that author voice of, hi, sit down. I got a story for you.
It's truly like, do you like tea? What is your drink of choice? I will give it to you. Yeah. You're here for a while.
By being that same person online and in other events, you get that feel for the kind of character, kind of story that you're going to get from her, no matter what the genre is. If she writes a cozy mystery story, it's going to be Southern Jessica Fletcher talking gossip about all the people that she knows. And, oh, by the way, he's the one who did the murder. It's going to be wonderful, fine, and there's going to be fabulous food through all of it. And that is a solid brand identity because you know what you're getting. This is what Agatha Christie was great with. This is what Ellis Peters was great with. I love my Ellis Peters mysteries because I know I'm going to learn something fascinating about medieval England because she had an obsession. I'm going to learn some weird arcane historical thing that I'm going to look up and go, that can't be right. Oh, and I'm going to get a fun mystery story at the same time. That was her brand. You need to figure out what yours is. If you are somebody who is constantly going on about weird things, that is part of your brand. Whatever it is, that is part of your brand. Bring it in. Megan needs to have a hippo in everything, even if it's just a tchotchke on somebody's keychain, or if it's a statue that they have on their desk. Like, that's something that she is really into. By bringing that into the brand, it becomes an Easter egg in the stories. Where's the hippo going to be? Your readers will start looking for it and being really excited when they see it because, oh, there it is. I found the hippo. It's over here. Secretly.
Never occurred to me. I'm going to have to like do that now because, yeah, that totally sounds like me.
Because it's something that they know that you love and it's something that they're going to find in your stories.
That and like the Lindas.
Like when I think of Megan, though, the more like I get to know Megan, that my idea of Megan is she's sort of like a coastal granny, but West Coast, but with this love of hippos and punk music. And, you know, a little feminist bent, which all of that does work with the West Coast granny kind of vibe.
I'm writing this down because
this
is useful information.
As Kelly was talking, I was realizing, hold up, I actually kind of have a vibe for Megan. Because again, sometimes it's hard for us to figure out our own brand because we're so close to it, we can't quite see it.
And if you don't know what your brand is, ask people that tolerate being around you, why are you here? Like, just
why are you guys here?
I need to,
because you are the most
queen of horror,
sweet, awesome, compassionate person who loves quirky crap. I love it.
Can I be honest?
Like, Laura, you've got Christmas, Disney, and horror monsters. Like, what? And I love it. I love that. I would never have thought all these things work together, but you show how you can mesh it all. And, of course, super fluffy Sir Roy and his constant daily pursuit of street bread. And, like, all of this is you, but it also actually blends very well. And if you had told me, okay, I have a character idea, and you painted Laura to me, I'd be like, oh, I don't know that really works together. But, like, knowing Laura as I have for, like, what, a year and a half, 2 years now, I am here to say this absolutely meshes very well and is 1,000% believable. And I love it. I love like your obsession with those Disney Mickey Mouse headbands and also horror and all of like, and the darker side of Disney and the Universal monsters and the horror and the middle grade. Like, it's so fun to be around you.
And it's so important to find that one word that encapsulates your brand. When I think Laura, it's enthusiasm. This is Laura's brand. When you read her horror stories, there's this giddy excitement of, oh, you won't believe what's about to happen. Oh, you won't believe what's about to happen. And then after, oh, you're right. I didn't believe what was
going to happen. And tree roots. You know, it's like, okay, let's go.
I mean, her stories start out like she writes horror stories, right? But her stories don't start out super horrific. You just kind of.
It's always like, on a quiet street,
and then
in a quiet village, monster ladies, you know, not ladies eat children, you know, like, oh, where we going?
Okay, they weren't monster ladies. It was a candy factory sugar house, and the children were in the fire.
Do you think this makes it better?
Look at this. It is on display right now. This is
a lot of denial here.
But like the reason I go on and on about Megan and her feminism is not because I'm trying to pigeonhole her. No. It's I expect from any story I get from Megan, either the women are going to get their own back, or some guy's going to get it for something he deserves.
Yes,
like these are the two things I expect from any story I get from Megan. Which is why that's the one watchword I go to when I think of what is Megan's brand.
Yes, I agree.
You know.
Like
Glory,
again,
one word is hospitality. I'm going to feel welcome to listen to the story. It's hospitality.
Oh, hospitality.
I'm going to feel welcome to listening to your story. Like, just come on in. We're going to have a good old time. Like that is your brand, and it's a great brand to have. But boiling yourself down to this one word is not limiting. It's actually really freeing.
Well, 2 or 3 word phrase.
Right.
If
like, East Coast Granny, Southern Memorist, Perky God, Wine Mom.
That works too. But the closer you can get to the one word, the more you know how to generate stuff going forward. If I say that Glory's brand is enthusiasm, when it comes time to, oh crap, I need to do social media posts. How do I stay on brand? What are you enthusiastic about right now? That's your post. That's your brand. Go for it. You're good. Right? If I'm talking to Megan, what is her brand? It's feminism. What are you mad about? What are you happy about? Oh, what did somebody do that I have not heard about that needs its praises sung?
Mm-hmm.
These are the things. You go immediately to those things and you know what you're doing. By being able to boil it down as simple as you can get it. Like if you can get to that one word, you're not going to be backing yourself into a corner, because as long as that's the right word, it's who you are. It's what you're going to be doing.
I was just thinking about it, and like I think I figured out what Maggie's is, but I'm not sure what it's called yet.
Mm-hmm.
What is George R. R. Martin's brand?
Grim dark.
Spite.
Revenge. I kid, Maggie. I love it.
Because I just always think of it like
Maggie's
you
brand
don't
is
know who's
kinda
going to survive.
I think Maggie's brand is kind of like, oh yeah, you told me I couldn't. I'm going to do this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, a while ago, she had her strokes and
Yeah.
and was told you can't do a bunch of stuff. And now she's like, look at what I can do. So that's why I was kind of like, I'm going to do this in spite of what everyone said.
There's a song.
I feel like her brand is F your expectations. I'm writing whatever I want.
Right? I do what I want.
Wear cows? Done. Cats, ladies, in the zombie apocalypse? Done.
Like, I highly recommend the song Wish You Would.
I just noticed that there's an animal theme to like all of the stories. Like,
yes,
there's animals in all of them. Like,
yeah, I don't know that there's any stories of hers that don't have some animals in some fashion.
Mm-hmm.
They may not necessarily be able to talk, but they do, communicate. I'm thinking of like the one that has that guy with a horse. Like, yeah, there's animals in all of them.
Is that like the special rarefied version of stubborn?
And the stubborn.
But once you know what that one thing is, or however close you can get to that one thing, it is now the font of all of your branding going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's the power that you get from being able to simplify this down as close as you can get. You can have multiple words. That's fine. They don't even have to be related words that are strung into a sentence.
Oh, yeah.
But understanding those character traits for your author brand is how you always have content that you can put out. It really is that simple. Like I am a hope monger. Like I am a hope punk writer. I have lived through the darkness. I live with the darkness. My depression kitty sleeps at my feet every night and likes to try to smother me when I'm not paying attention. So I am all about the hope, which is why people literally save up channel points, go to my channels and like, pep talk now. Because it's part of my brand. Because I will, as much of a pessimist as I am, I will try to find the bright side of any circumstance. And that's just a function of my life and who I am, which is why I use the phrase hope punk a lot, because I feel like that explains most of my books. Like everything's dark, kind of bad, but we'll get there in the end. Let's go. Because that's how I've lived my life.
Not my characters.
See,
you
enthusiasm.
want to survive?
Did you hear the giggle?
I did hear.
You gotta give them a little bit of hope before you smash that car door on them and just like, nope.
As I have told Glory many, many times about being a creative, you have to find what makes you cackle. Not giggle, not laugh. What actually will make you cackle, that is the inspiration.
But going back to Neil Gaiman's brand is story. That is his brand. He is the grand storyteller. He is Morpheus from the Sandman, and you can see this when he's talking. He knows he's a little aloof. He knows he's a little detached from everything else because he's so interested in the story. He sometimes forgets about real life, and he's just embraced that as his brand.
And his hair is part of his brand too. Yep. He's got a specific style that he pretty much keeps to, and occasionally he'll cut it short and people will get upset about it. It's kind of
I always wonder, like, all right, who gave it to who? Was it, did Terry give it to Neil or did Neil give it to Terry? Because
then there's Tim Burton's hair.
That's not Tim Burton's hair, and I refuse to allow this lie to be perpetrated. He saw a goth girl outside of a Cure concert and went, that's who I am. Literal, honest to God story he has told numerous occasions. He's just mimicking a teenage girl that he saw outside of a Cure concert. He did not know what the term goth meant until after Batman Returns came out, and people kept calling him a goth. And he was like, "What is this word? Why do you keep calling me this?" And then they showed it to him, and he's like, "Oh, no, what? No." And that is Tim Burton. He's a grown man trying to be a teenage goth girl at a Cure concert in the 80s.
And then you have Del Toro, who's like a teddy bear of horror.
Which works into his stories. All of his stories have this like nightmare feel to them, but there's this oddly wholesome thing in the middle of it.
It feels like a childhood story, like, that Once Upon a Time kind of story feel to it.
Like, he's the relative who would tell you bedtime stories and would give great hugs and scare the pants off you with the stories.
Yep. I feel like his entire brand is he saw old Boris Karloff interviews and said, "I want to be that."
I've seen his collection. There's quite a bit of Frankenstein in it.
Yeah. Like, I really feel like that's his entire brand identity. But this is how you start spinning this off into other things. If your brand is, say, enthusiasm, which is what we brought up for Laura, what does that look like? I don't know. Maybe hiring an artist to make really hot pictures of your characters making out. And everybody else a little bit enthusiastic about reading your book. All right?
They're going to burn up in a bright flame and they'll enjoy it the whole time.
Gosh.
Or maybe your brand is like magical realism, where everything is normal, contemporary, but there's a little bit of magic in your world. Just a little bit, where the characters can't even be quite sure. Is it coincidence or is it magic?
Oh, you mean like the beginning of every Stephen King book? Before Stephen King finally admits a third of the way through, oh no, there's some real magic going on here.
Because honestly, like, my mother's was probably magical realism. That was her brand, because she was the same woman when the car would start. She's like, "Glory, come out to the car, lay hands on it." And then it would start, and I'm like, "What is this, Matt?" She's like, "It doesn't matter. Don't question it. I just need to get to work." Okay. Maggie says it's like an older sibling is trying to tell a younger sibling a nightmare and then realizes it is too scary and tries to make it more Alice through the looking glass. Send me your tears for my roses, but overcome your own internalized trauma while reading. But yeah, like, I mean, that is fair of figuring out your brand with the help of your friends. Because again, it's so hard when it's you because you're in it all day, every day.
That's why marketers are so bad at marketing themselves. You will see the most awful marketing campaigns for marketing companies just because it is that difficult to market yourself.
Speaking of, I just realized, Charlie, it's not Hope Monger, it's Hope Punk.
Yeah.
That's the brand.
That is your brand.
That is very much my brand.
So we were driving and saw a billboard once. It was a company trying to hire a graphic designer. And there's literally a screenshot of MS Paint saying, "Please help."
I've seen those billboards around too.
Like, yes.
Or I've seen I think it's the same like company or something or ad across the country, because I've seen it where
they're a digital sign company,
and it says like this is our graphic design. Can you do better? Help us, or something like that. It'll say. I've seen it like in Nebraska, Kansas, Idaho, like all over. Very odd. But yeah, it looks like MS Paint did it.
But this is why I get really frustrated when people overcomplicate at least personal branding. Personal branding is really simple. And that's I think why it's overcomplicated, because most of the people that are talking about it are people that want you to hire their services, so that they can talk to you for 5 minutes, figure out this simple brand, and sell it back to you in a much more complex way that makes you dependent upon them to get to you knowing what you're doing. And it really is this simple. When you're talking about the branding for your books, those books will have a personality of their own. And you can start seeing how exactly they want to be marketed as you're going forward with it.
Yes, I am starting to lean into the Southern writer.
That's so pretty.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous.
Is that for Substack?
It's very much inspired by when I used to live up in Oxford, Mississippi in the 90s. This was sort of that aesthetic that they actually used in their advertising. It's not exactly theirs, but this is like the aesthetic within Mississippi of the hospitality state. There's pine, there's magnolia, and then it's not the S in Mississippi if it doesn't have that little hook, almost like a fish hook. It's got to have that. They're subtle, but those are the hallmarks of that sort of Mississippi Southern writer vibe. So might as well lean in. Versus, I will show you what else I was working on. That one. So this is all of them. Hold on just a sec. Let me make this a wee bit bigger. So this is the cover photo Substack wants. But I've got 3 different newsletters. There's just my random crap. There's Fillmore, Stories of Fillmore. And then, of course, there's Tom's Digest.
And each one of those captures personality fairly well.
Yeah, I wanted to absolutely capture the personality of what that newsletter is going to feel like, the vibe of it. So that people get what they think they're going to get. When they get it, they're like, okay, yes, this is what I was expecting, and now I have received it. And so, yeah, Tom is going to be doing the synopsis for each article. Like he's going to like do a weekly or bi-weekly wrap up of like the articles he thought was most interesting, as well as a short summary or synopsis of what's interesting in this article, what is worth reading, or what is the new thing that they found out. But like Tom does not have as flowery or meandering a writing style as I do. And so it is a bit more like that sort of tech look for that Tom tech vibe. Versus like, notice the font from the Desk of Glory. I think it's supposed to look like handwriting, but like readable, easy to digest handwriting. And yet I really do feel that these do work together. Of like, it's not like, what are these strange things? Why are they all in the same room? Because it's us. They're in the room. I just thought I would stop and share that since we are talking about branding. And because you can have multiple newsletters in Substack.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
I was going to share a screen, but StreamYard is not letting me.
Is it, what do you want to share? Maybe I could share it.
Oh, no, it was something in my Canva.
Oh,
okay. I was going to show one of the brand things that I'm working on, and StreamYard only let me share my entire screen. It won't let me actually share a tab from the browser.
That's weird.
Which is bizarre. So I guess I'll do the entire screen, flip over to the browser, and then tell you when I'm on the right page.
Sure. We can do that.
Yeah,
just tell me when to pop you in.
There we go. So this is the first series that I'm going to be running with, maybe before the new year, but at least by the new year. And I know the.
Hey, Jen.
Do you want me to pop in your screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, as you can, I knew what it was about. I know what the story is. And when it came to doing the brand for it, I knew that it needed to have a certain tech look to it. It needed to feel, because of the nature of the story, it needed to feel like an anime logo. Like this story just feels like it wants to actually be an anime or a manga, but I don't draw like that. So it is going to be a text story. And so I took a lot of inspiration from that vibe that I got from the story to make the brand logo for it, and feel that it fairly adequately captures a lot of what is going to be going on in the story. And the fun thing about coming up with logos for a series like this is there's a lot of little things in there that as people are reading the story, they're going to realize, oh wait, that's what that thing is. Like all the little shapes in the background aren't quite so random, but they're going to make sense as people are getting into the story and as people are reading it. And it's going to become more meaningful as things go on. And that's a great way to do your branding, where you're hiding Easter eggs for your audience to find. Nothing makes somebody love your stuff better than you making them feel like they're smart. And I'm not saying this in a condescending way. I really do mean this. If you can give them the ability to figure something out, they're going to become more personally invested in it. Think about the things that you love. When you have that moment of, wait a minute, you're not. Oh, wait, is that a... Right before the reveal, you get this dopamine rush when you're proven right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that you can do to try to bake that in is going to be helpful.
I feel like it rewards your readers. Like, you've been paying attention, here's a payoff.
And so anything that you can do when you're thinking about your branding, it can be little things like maybe in your literary story, there's a flower that is symbolically important. Finding a way to put it somewhere in all of the posts about that, so that people might not even notice it. It might just be a little thing, like, I don't know why there's a camellia in all of these pictures, but there's a camellia in all of these pictures. And then they read the book and they're like, oh, that's why there was a camellia. Like, oh, I get it. And suddenly it has meaning. And that is, in a lot of ways, what we are about in this business, is giving people a sense of meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it was worth my time to read this. It was worth my time to be with this. You are wanting to find ways in the least fan servicey way that you can to validate your reader's investment of time and money. And that's what good branding will really help you do, is when you are watching it and they get to have that rush of, I was right to have done this. I was right to have picked this up. I was right about what was going to be the big twist. Any of those things that you can provide, they are going to convert a casual reader into a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And if I've said it once, I've said it a million times, that is the end result of what we're trying to do. And it's 1,000 little things. So they might not know why Megan is constantly mentioning the Linda Lindas on her social media feed until they get to that chapter of the story where a Linda Linda song sparks something in a character's mind, and they all of a sudden are like, oh my goodness, that's why I was being made familiar with this band, so that this moment would resonate with me. And it doesn't have to feel as calculated as that, but there are ways to work all of this stuff in to make people feel like it was worth their time to be with you. Because that's the sad thing about the writing economy now, is that's what we are selling. It's not the book so much anymore. Books are cheap. If somebody wants to read something, they can go to Radish and read forever. They can get Kindle Unlimited and read forever on very little money. They can go to Archive of Our Own or any of another 5 million sites and read for free.
Mm-hmm.
Reading is cheap. Our words are cheap. And as much as we love them and we want to invest in them, what we are actually trying to do, if we want this to be a business, is to reward them to think, when they get to that point in the story, it was worth my time to do this. That validation breeds connection and will bring them back for further stories. Yeah, a library.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ways that like I get frustrated when I hear writers talking about it's all about selling books. Yes, selling books, very important. Not going to undercut that. Converting a readership into avid fans is where the business is.
Mm-hmm. Like, also, as I was continuing this list and thinking of different branding, I was realizing like most name recognition famous actors, they are not hired like character actors to embody a character. They are hired to be themselves as that character.
Mm-hmm.
John Hamm is not an amazing actor. You hire John Hamm to act as John Hamm in that role.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's really what a viable author brand is. You don't read Anne Rice because you want to find out, you want a certain type of story. You know the kind of story you're going to get. She's going to be filled with snark. It's going to be, so thirsty. Like, so thirsty. Everybody's going to be hungering after everybody else. And there's going to be, here's the naughties. There they are.
And so many bad decisions. Everyone's going to make bad decisions.
Everyone's going to make bad decisions. But you know that going in. It's her author brand that propels her forward. When you get to the big name authors, no matter who they are, even Robert Galbraith made her fortune as a mystery writer. Everybody talks about the Harry Potter books as if they were fantasy books. They're not fantasy books. Her innovation on the genre was turning the magical quest into a cozy mystery.
Mm-hmm.
That's the innovation that she did on the genre. She built herself up as a mystery writer and is continuing to do that in her other books. And the books that she writes that don't sell well are the ones where she deviates from telling mystery stories. Or she decides to just write a self-insert character who goes around and kills trans people. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But it's the brand that you're buying. All of the big name authors, you know what you're getting in a Stephen King story. You're not going to be surprised by a Stephen King story. But the reason
it's in Maine? What?
Wait, why are there angels and demons showing up?
Shocking.
There's a reason he can put out as many books as he does and still sell in the volume that he does. It's because people signed up for that brand. They want his stories. If you're not branding yourself and making that a big part of your push to get people to read your fiction, even if it is a character that you're playing in under a pen name, you're not going to build that devoted audience that is going to give you the career that you want. Because think about all the authors that we've mentioned. I know exactly what I'm getting from a Terry Pratchett novel, even though they are wildly different in genre and some are very happy and funny and some are really sad and tragic. But I know exactly the story I'm going to get, the kind of author voice that's going to be delivering it to me.
It's a journal.
I go back every time. Right?
And the hardest part is that anything that sounds a little odd or crazy, that's the stuff that was not made up. That exists. Nothing fantastical is actually fiction in Terry Pratchett's stories.
Very weird.
But that's the brand you need to be building for yourself if you want this to be a career. And I know so many of us here are introverts and don't want to be the center of attention, which is why you create a character. C.E. Dorset is not Charlie. C.E. Dorset is the person on the books. And hopefully we can get you there, because I've heard some of the stories you're working on. And
Yeah.
I've heard TikTok can move books.
It certainly moves music sales.
Oh yeah. It's ridiculous.
But you can't give in to the get rich quick scheme. Which so much marketing is. They're just either MLM schemes or get rich quick schemes that don't work. If somebody tells you, I can tell you how to sell 100,000 copies of your book by the end of the year, they are lying.
Run the other way.
Yes. There's only one book that I've ever read with a title like that was not a lie, and that was To Your First 1,000 Copies. And the whole point of that book is, here's how you develop relationships with your readers. Here's how you build a newsletter. Here's how you actually cultivate a relationship with your fan base so that people will continue talking about your book. It's very clear. Like, I'm not saying you're going to do this in a year. It might take you 10 years. Like, it's very clear up front and to the point. Like, might not be easy.
I mean, I like Eva's point of, if someone is trying to teach you how to sell books, be sure to research why they know, because that sounds like a salesperson, not a writer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's very true. Well, we're about ready for another sprint. When we come back, what shall we talk about?
Well, we talked about the branding, so I guess the marketing.
The marketing. All
The
right.
nitty gritty.
Getting down and dirty. All right. Now is a wonderful time to make sure you've got something delicious to drink. Maybe a snacky
Should I
snack.
down my salsa?
Yeah. Just like that. No, I'm kidding. So, and when we come back, we will talk about
It is the California way.
Lord. All right. See you in a few minutes. Me. Welcome back.
I spent that sprint listening to my husband rant about the lack of dino nuggets in the house. How did you do?
Sounds like a travesty.
No dino nuggets. What are you gonna do?
So Tom sliced the pork loin.
Brian, the showing of the
I want some.
Now I want you to understand it looks a little pink, but the thermometer said it got up to 160 and then later rose to 165 degrees. So this is just the most delicious, juicy, the glisten of the loin.
Yeah. Eat that dirty pig. Yeah, you want to see the turkey breast?
All right, and here's the turkey
I'm
breast.
unmuted. They heard you.
I know. That's one single.
It's just half of a turkey breast. Art
Arc
thou ready?
I'm ready.
Oh,
D'Artagnan.
oh
Oh, the big bird.
the turkey breast.
Making me hungry.
This was back, what was it, a quarter
Show it up
of
to me.
cents a pound?
Yeah. Nice.
This was last year when whole large turkeys were on sale for 25 cents a pound.
Holy crap.
Look at that.
I think it was originally from like a 20-pound bird, or at least 18-pound.
So this is smoked just straight out of the smoker. It's still too hot to slice.
Ooh.
If I
Is it
said
too
it
hot
once,
to lick?
I've said it 1,000 times. I would definitely subscribe to Tom's Hot Meats.
Like you
Elbow
can actually
band.
smell the
Like-
smoke off of the skin. Like it
Oh.
smells like
This
like
is like-
one of those cozy fireplaces. You know what I'm saying?
This is like low level torture.
Yes.
Just
Welcome to
teasing.
my real brand. I like to just a little hurt, not too much. Just enough so you know you're alive.
That you offer.
I just like to break your numbness a little. Yeah. I wanted some smoked turkey for gobbler sandwiches since it is the season.
Mhm.
And I was like, Tom, get some fresh turkey breast. And he's like, hell no, we have some in the deep freeze. Like, then get it out of the deep freeze. So yes, this is.
I agree
Yes,
with Jen.
come, Jen, come. I will make you a plate. I'll make you multiple plates so you can like have one now and one later.
I'm not saying that I have a Google Maps route mapped out to get there.
Since you know
But
my
every
actual
now and then I
address.
just look at longingly.
Yes.
Of like,
Oh, how will Charlie avoid Arkansas to get here? Which route? They've got all the routes memorized.
oh no, we'll probably have to go through Arkansas because Brian will not enter Tennessee by hook. or by
Between the
crook.
two of you. You
So-
could go to Oklahoma through Texas into
We
Louisiana.
should go the long.
You should go through Oklahoma, go to Texas, pick me up, and then just drive that way.
Right? Oh, are you back in Texas? I didn't know that,
yeah.
Steph. I thought you were still in
Yeah.
Oregon.
No, we went there, got what we needed to get done. We had a propane regulator. We had a on recall. We had a tire blowout because, of course, on the way there.
Oh, wow.
And I got my infusion done. We were going to leave on a Saturday, and I kept on stalking the weather because I'm like, I do not want to drive in the snow. We're fine driving with the snow. We are from Oregon. We're used to the snow, but we didn't want to if we didn't
Right.
have to.
Want
And
to.
so we left Friday morning, and Saturday night it dumped. So we got out there just in the nick of time. In fact, right
Oh,
now
nice.
it's like, I think yesterday was like 47 degrees, but in Oregon, where we're from in Bend, it was a whole like 34, and there's like 2 feet of snow. So I'm okay with it being a little chilly over here as long as there's no snow. Knock on wood.
Yeah. It is a little chilly. Like we set up a little cozy cat box outside for the feral cat that's adopted us. I can't imagine why the cat's adopted us. You think it might have something to do with all the smoked meat? She's like, yeah. And she even has a little 3-legged boyfriend who like hides in the bushes, but he's not that quiet, so I can hear. So I then throw a little smoked meat his way too.
Yeah, so right now we are literally like 4 minutes from Oklahoma.
Oh,
we're
okay.
very
You really are close.
North Oklahoma, North Texas. There's the Lake Texoma, which is on the other side of the river is Oklahoma. In fact, if we come here in the evening time for the first time in a while, and we're going on a certain road, like the Highway 377, my husband will be like, "Oh, I guess we're turning around in the casino parking lot. I went too far. You just missed the turn. You're in Oklahoma." So that's how close we are.
Oh, wow. You really are that close.
And then at the end of the month, we're going down by Waco for a couple of weeks. And then we're going to spend Christmas and my birthday, New Year's Day, down by San Antonio.
Ah, nice. Very nice.
And then we're going to head east a little bit, but stay south, but still in Texas because I want it warmer than 40 degrees.
Yeah, you're gonna go to the Braun Hills area. Well, they're supposed to have really good food all throughout the Braun Hills.
So down by San Antonio, I guess my husband looked it up. There is this barbecue place he wanted to try out called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Barbecue. So it's supposed to be really good. So we're going to try that out. We haven't come across any bad barbecue in Texas yet. So
yeah, I was about to say, like, when I was in Texas, in Austin, we went to the watering hole, and yes, you do wait there forever to get food. Like, when I say forever, it was almost 2 hours before we finally got our order. Wow. But it was, at the time, the most tender brisket I'd ever had in my life. So definitely worth it to know what is capable. But now that Tom and I have a smoker, it's like, oh yeah, this is just normal. But it was delicious and awesome. So yeah, I haven't had bad barbecue in Texas. I've had mediocre barbecue, but I haven't had any bad barbecue technically in Mississippi either, with the exception of I have strong opinions about what they call smoked chicken. I have opinions. But anyway, that's
it's
neither
secretly
here
smoked emu.
So mad. So mad. And it doesn't taste
They tried
smoked
to
at all.
start a second emu war around here, and it was bad. Like, somebody convinced the farmers that emus were going to be the next big meat, and so they all bought emus. And then when they found out what the meat prices were, they just let them go.
Oh, man.
Oh, good Lord. And
So-
emus are good meat.
you are aware about emus in Australia, right?
Yes.
What happened a long time ago,
Yeah.
and they lost to the emus.
Yep.
Okay.
I thought we were going to, but luckily the snakes and the pigs
Jen.
are the emus.
Are you somewhere in the South? One day we are going to have an author retreat. And Tom and I have already discussed how we're going to strap the smoker onto the car. We're going to bring the smoker. We will smoke meats. So, are you somewhere in North America?
We can narrow it down.
You got to come. If you are on this continent, you should totally come when we all finally get together.
And then my plan is by like January, we're going to be about an hour and a half north of Houston.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jen is in California, North.
Yeah, you two.
Oh, well, that's going to be a long road trip for you guys to come out
You
here.
might need to fly.
Oh, or yeah, you could fly.
Boring. Where's the story there? When you could have
Right?
a Hunter S. Thompson story by the end of it to write about
No,
at the
thanks.
retreat.
All the
I've been in a plane
interesting
crash.
things
I don't
happen
fly.
when you're. So we went down to Tombstone, Arizona on the way from Oregon to Texas. We went the long way because we didn't want to go through Idaho because all bad things happen in Idaho to our car. And we went down to Tombstone, Arizona, and it's exactly like the movie and all that. And it's based on fact, and it had historical landmark things. But as we were coming out of Tombstone towards away from the Mexico border, we actually got stopped for the first time by Border Patrol. They asked one question: Are you U.S. citizens? Yes. Okay. Bye. That was it. That was their check. Like they had signs everywhere that said, "Have your papers ready. Have your papers ready." And my husband was freaking out. I was like, "We don't have paper because we don't need paper because we're U.S. citizens. Don't worry about it." Plus, our truck vehicle all had Oregon license plates anyway. So.
Right? Like you've got, all the trappings of living in America already.
Right.
That's how the Canadians get away with everything.
I know. They just sneak over willy-nilly setting fire to our houses, and then they go back and they go, what? Us? But we're Canadian. We're so nice and sweet. Y'all are hooligans.
Laura,
And I may be
are
talking
you a
about
hooligan now?
actual historical facts here. Canadian violence in America is real.
They still gave him Bubba green card.
And the Irish are secretly controlling the world.
Everybody gets a turn. Eventually, everybody gets a turn.
I feel like you're just going down the list of hooligans.
Yes, fair.
So I will be in Texas for the foreseeable future. We are not moving out of the house like I had thought. It's a whole long, stupid process. Basically, no bank wants to give us a loan because we don't have history of paying bills for the last year because we have no freaking bills because we don't have any bills. So we are either going to find a cheap apartment or we're just going to live in an RV till it falls apart, whichever one happens first. No, I mean, it's fine. The RV is fine. It's working for us. It's okay.
America.
Right. Or like, yeah, so it's okay. This way I can see more stuff and eat more barbecue and it'll be fine.
That is true. And then you eventually make it over Mississippi and try Mississippi barbecue, which is a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
Is it a
Mississippi
heffalump or a
sweet
woozle?
Is a real thing.
I mean, at
You
least
really-
it's not North
you really
Carolina
wanna smoke
barbecue,
Sizzle?
because dear God, why?
Is that what you're saying? Because, Laura, you've met Everett. He introduced himself to me when I was 18 and he was 21 as, hey, did you know that my family is personally responsible for the near extinction of gopher turtles? And I'm like, how? And he's like, we like to eat them. And I'm like, just your family's like, oh yeah, like there's like a solid 50-year history of the Minshews just living on gopher turtle. And I'm like, is it good? He's like, it's okay. I was like, then why do they eat so many? He's like, free? They're just out there, Glory. They're just out there slowly walking around, wandering around lots. If we don't eat them, the alligators will. And I'm like, is that really a defense? Anyway, so yeah, according to Everett, his family is personally responsible for the near extinction of gopher turtles in America. So it's like, don't tempt me, honey. We will smoke anything. We'll put a turtle in there. We'll put a woozle. What do I want to know what Brian said?
No, you really don't.
All right, so we'll move on. Book marketing, y'all.
Book marketing.
Be happy. He's cooking. It's fine.
So the best thing you do to market your book is just stand on the corner, scantily clad, and say, "I have books to sell."
You go like, hey, you want a hit of a story? Hey, a little something, something.
I got a sentence for you.
Oh, look at what I have. I've also got some of my friends' books. A little hit, a little something, something for any flavor.
All right, so real quick, I want to make a very strange segue.
Okay, what you got, Tom?
But this is, I feel, actually very pertinent from our own experiences. Which is, so I saw Jen commented, I order steak like once a year, if that. My daughter is practically a vegetarian now.
Are you going to talk about smoking sweet potatoes?
No.
Projects we've actually done.
True. No. But more of the... So I actually understand and can commiserate with that feeling of, look, if the food's not good, it's not good. It's not, Jen's not saying, oh, I hate beef. I'm trying not to eat animals. What I'm really, or her daughter, what I'm really hearing is there's nothing good that's protein, that's a meat protein that I really want to eat out here.
Yep.
But a lot of people would see that of, oh, well, no one wants to eat meat. I shouldn't even look at it. Versus, like, I have found from my own experience, smoking meats and using my own methods, that most people, like, including, we talked about our neighbor with the pork, who's like, I don't like pork. And it's like, well, here's some then for your husband. And she tried a little bit because it smelled pretty good. And it's like, well, all this pork is now mine. Just because people are saying they don't like a particular genre or they're not interested in reading doesn't necessarily mean they are not a potential reader. It's that all the previous ones have let them down, have not given them what they were looking for.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And like that's what I kind of wanted to bring up was, to me, what I'm reading here is not, oh, I'm doing this for health reasons or anything. It's there's nothing I want to eat from there. So
Right.
why would I pay to not enjoy something?
Exactly. Why would I pay a premium to not enjoy it?
Never underestimate the power of free. Like there was the joke earlier, like standing on the street corner trying to sell your book, but you really do need to have a little bit of that drug dealer in you when you're trying to sell the book. Like, here, I'll give you a first taste for free. The rest of it's going to cost you money. Like, there really is some truth to that. I have sold many a book to people who, oh, I really don't like that genre. I really don't like this idea. Really don't like this thing. I've read a lot of this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, oh, here, just give it a try. And I would print out when I would go to conventions just the first chapter and staple it together. It looked kind of cute, but like they're very low budget, like very budget friendly chapbooks, and be like, oh, okay, and just hand them a book and say, well, if you're interested. And the number of sales that we would get back off of that, because again, it's I'm not wanting to go back to the author branding thing, but I could tell that they were hanging around with me all weekend. They liked things I was talking about. They liked the way I tell stories. I'm like, no, you want to buy my book. But you can't just walk up to somebody unless you're like a couple authors that we can name and say, like, no, you actually want to buy my book. That's a little bit, off brand for most of us. But having that free taste so that they can see what it is that you're offering and being open about it. And here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what it is one of the best ways to get people in. Because everyone's going to have preconceived notions about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that book marketing and the book industry is middle school, take yourself back to the worst middle school sitcom. Don't even go to real life. Go to the worst middle school sitcom. That is writing life. Who's sitting at the cool table? Who's the one that's got the newest, coolest thing?
Did you guys ever see that random episode of this random show of the middle school sitcom where this kid is very flatulent, so he literally has a belt of air fresheners?
Oh,
He reminded me of.
Enthusiasm. Again, say, here's the brand right there. I don't know what she's talking about, but I want to see it now.
It was hilarious. I can't remember what it was.
But make sure that you have a way that people can actually test what you're doing, and don't always rely on...
never underestimate the power of a free sample, y'all.
Yes.
It goes back to the flywheel that I was talking about at the very beginning. You have to attract people, and sometimes the best way to do that is to offer free content. Yes. I mean, that's literally a big part of it, is offering free information, free
content marketing is so important.
Yeah.
When I do the podcasts, I have people that listen to them, and I know are going to buy the book, because everything I do, I try to tell a story. And that's what the podcast is. Whether it's, I had a bad day, y'all, I'm going to talk about how I got through it, because those are actually my most popular episodes. People like my hope punk stuff. Like, here's how I'm suffering, but I'm pushing through and going to persevere. And so I end up doing a lot of that. But it's the storytelling that is bringing them in. It's the same author voice that I have in my writing. If you've noticed, my writing, anybody who knew me at the very beginning when I started on AuthorTube, I just started figuring out how to do this just right, to get this kind of conversational tone into my actual text that I'm writing. Because I discovered from going to conventions, it wasn't hard for me to drum up a crowd of people that wanted to hear the stories I was telling. But doing that conversion to the book, where I wasn't writing with the same voice, was tricksy. So anything that you can do to put that out there, whether that's a podcast, whether that's doing YouTube videos that are geared towards readers. Again, I have to say it, your AuthorTube content is not going to sell you a lot of books.
Book trailers will.
Will. But putting out anything to promote your book and the idea of your book will. The more you're talking about it, the more that people can sit back and see, oh, I like the way you tell a story. I like the way you frame an issue. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, if you're a mystery writer and you like true crime, start a true crime podcast and sell your mystery books at the end of it. Because if it's something that you're interested in and you can get people in a fairly low effort project, because a lot of that stuff's fairly readily available as far as the information and stuff to put those stories together, you'll be able to show them, hey, I can tell a good crime story that you might like. By the way, did you know I have a book series? And that's the thing, that is the one tool that authors need to learn, is the segue to, oh, by the way, did you know I also have a book? Because that's where your book sales are really going to come from. We can talk about ads. I really don't want to do that because, again, like I said, that's very platform specific and obnoxious and painful. And it changes every 5 minutes. And anything I tell you now, they'll push an update tomorrow and it'll be wrong. Because that's how all these ad platforms work. Because they don't want you to sell books. They want you to spend money trying to sell things. Their interest is getting you money, not getting you customers. Remember, you're in an adversarial relationship with every ad agency you work with.
Honestly, as far as actual ad sales, I would say the best experience I've had, aside from word of mouth, which is absolutely worth the money, if just person to person. Oh, yeah. But beside that, the smaller the company, the more the easier it is to talk to the person running the business, the better results I have had, because they understand, they're so small, they understand if we don't help you make sales, you will not buy more ad space. And so they really are trying to help grow your business with you, because they're hoping you will then see, hey, my business is growing. I'm going to keep using this company as a partner. And what I mean by that, so this is not quite as easy online, and you have to really think about, where can I connect with actual real life human beings and not just a person hired who has no actual investment in the business they're working for. He says newsletters are a great marketing tool. Social media and perfecting that is a battle in itself. I suggest using cleavage if available. Amen, honey. Just shake it a little. But nevertheless, so what I mean by, we lost Steph again. I'm sure she'll find her way back. But what I mean by that is, so if you know somebody who is running an online zine and you can partner with them, either ad sales or to do as a guest writer in their zine, again, as a way to make more connections with more potential readers. So that sort of thing, of anything where you can actually have a real human conversation with somebody else who would care about your interest in partnering with them to grow your business, is worth so much more of your time and effort than just buying another block of ads on Instagram or Facebook or another platform. Tom and I actually experimented with purchasing, this was about a year ago. We experimented with buying ad blocks on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and to see, okay, I'm sorry, Steph. And we experimented to see if any of them were actually worth the expenditure. And what we found, absolutely dismal, not worth a penny. Absolutely not worth a penny. But instead, making more interpersonal connections with other people who were also networking was definitely worth our time and effort. And that's why we never reported back to y'all about, okay, this is how you do it, was because we found YouTube, if anything, our numbers actually went down when we bought ad blocks to promote this channel. Same with Facebook, nothing converted from Facebook off of Facebook. And even when we offered sales on Facebook, it converted to 0 sales. It was absolutely not, didn't even get us more attention. It was absolutely worth it. Same with Instagram. We have tried experimenting on various platforms, and I'm here to tell you, nope. versus, so say for instance, there's potential readers who are reading another issue, another magazine or some website or something, and you can contact that real human being who is in charge about somehow partnering with them. That is definitely going to be far more worth your while.
Which is why
So-
I'm glad to see Twitter go, because Twitter ads, if you are doing them right, you realize that everybody on Twitter is looking for something to talk about. And if you can craft an ad that goes, hey, look at my stuff, it's something you can talk about, you can move a lot of books on Twitter. Well, you could before it turned into the super trash fire that it is and burned down. Know the market. Sorry, Megan.
Oh, I was just gonna say, when I was doing marketing for a video game company, what we did is we did a lot of influencer marketing, which is where you find accounts like blogs, or we did a lot of like Twitch channels, and we would find the most popular ones that seemed to have a very active community that looked like they had it wasn't a lot of bots or just spam comments and that kind of stuff. And then we would contact them and be like, hey, we've got a free copy of our game we'd like to give you if you want to do a review and share it with your audience. And we got a lot of great traction that way, getting our game out to the people we wanted to get our game out to, using influencer marketing, which it was fantastic.
And just remember, with all of this, whether you're reaching out to influencers like Lori and Megan are talking about, or you're just talking to the general public, don't sell your book. I cannot stress this enough. Anybody who's done sales for any period of time knows the quickest way to turn somebody off is to be the person that why I do the critic sound every time we talk about this, because it doesn't work. The buy my book, like people will tune you out so fast. You have to show them, here's what's in it for you. When you contact your influencers, here's content that your audience will be interested in, that will help with your viewership numbers, that will you sell the benefit to them. You make them want to buy what you're selling. It's really important to approach it that way.
And that's what we looked at when another thing we looked at when we were looking for influencers was who would be a really good fit for this game, who is going to really love the game and play it a lot, and who's going to really want to talk about it. We looked at games that they had played previously that they really enjoyed, that were in a similar vein. That's actually how we found them, is we looked up like gamers who are playing Terraria right now, and we would look for those people who had really enjoyed the game, played it a lot, and because we knew that they would really enjoy our game too, because it was so similar and had a lot of the characteristics that they appreciated from the game. Like it's not something you can just like pick and choose, like, okay, this, mark it off your list really quickly. You have to do some research into the person to make sure that they're a good fit for what you're trying to do, because you want them to love it. You want them to get a lot out of it so that they talk about it a lot with their audience and their friends and everyone that they talk with. You want to you don't want to make it a chore for them. It's got to be something that they get a lot out of.
You better believe I have a marketing plan set up for when book 1 of my epic fantasy series is done and coming out, to attract the attention of both the click and strange eons. Because the kind of weird crap that I'm writing in these books is right in the Venn diagram of what they either talk about on their streams or in their videos. Like, it's right in the Venn diagram of what they would talk to their audience about. Of, oh my goodness, can you believe this weird thing exists? And that's part of the plan, is trying to find ways to get their attention and to get them to So especially Strange Announce. I want her to tear my book apart on a video. I want this so bad. So bad. Like, I'm not trying to make it intentionally like horrific in ways to get her to read it, but oh dear God, I feel like I'm in the Venn diagram somewhere between her, like the lesbians who fall in love with Satan and all of the weird fan fiction she talks about, like right in there. But knowing those people and knowing that they sell books, every time she mentions a book on her stream, on her channel, go to its Amazon page and notice how much it has climbed in the sales charts.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't care if people make fun of that book. It's a silly, silly book. I want people to know that it exists.
Yeah, and that's the part that you're putting effort in, that people know it exists. That's actually what I was going to bring up was, so way back when, the video store days. So I just want you to picture it. It's the late 90s, the early 2000s. South Mississippi. We are a podunk video store in an actual literal trailer outside of any town ever. Okay. Nobody this. And also, what's worse, nobody can find us. We're on the side of a highway that people are moving too fast to even notice the trailer is right there with a very nice, expansive parking lot. Nobody even notices it exists because we're in front of a cornfield next to a goat farm. And the goats are mostly in the barn watching Animal Planet. That is true. Okay. And there's a big satellite dish next to us because the guy running the goat farm in the cornfield, he actually makes his money off of running a very teeny tiny cable TV station company where he, like, what was it? He only offered like 20 channels and you paid $20 a month for his cable TV. And that was the satellite dish, was like next to our trailer. Okay, here we go. People didn't know we existed, and I needed them to know we exist. So I've got to do advertising. I've got to make essentially awareness ad campaigns. Our first 2 years, it cost $30 in ad campaign money for each person that it actually converted into going to the video store. And they would spend, on average, $50. Everybody told me that's good numbers. And I'm like, I could do better. So we then tried several different ad campaigns and ad styles, including a whole lot of flyers everywhere. And also, taking all the employees who wanted to go bar hopping with samples printed with an unremovable sticker, because it was actually stickers that had the store information on it, but they were the stickers you put on the old VHS and DVD. So if you rip it off, it says void, void, void. We'd stick them on the little samples of lube and condoms and whatever. And that was advertising stuff. So all of those products just were tax deductible. And all the employees, we buy all their drinks for free at every bar we went to on a Friday or Saturday night. And their job was simply to try to put as many of these samples in other people's hands who would accept them as they could. That was literally it. They were just given handful after handful and told, go out to the dance floor, go over there to the bar, see who'll take a sample. Always give the waitresses samples. They love free things. And all of that was advertising money as well. It converted $30 spent in awareness campaign, converted to one more person who actually showed up at the video store, usually set up an account, and spent a total of $50 in the first year. Eventually, by honing this system, I was able to take the cost of converting people down to $15 to get one person to show up. So it's $15 for every person. And then they would spend in a year closer to $65 to $75. And again, remember, this is early 2000s money. And when I told the local radio station this, when, after remember our first ad campaign of 3 months, and they were about to close their business till I walked in and said, hey, I'd like to try advertising with you, $100 a month for 3 months. and see what we get. And he's like, fine, $10 an ad. And then they kept giving us free ads since they had no other ads. So it went down to $15 or up to $75 in the year. And then again, most people continue to stay customers year after year. But I want writers to think about that, because when I mention that to other writers, even people who've been writing and publishing for 2 or 3 years, they blanch. They're like, $15 a customer. Oh, I can't make any money off that. Well, then you're in the wrong business. You need to be thinking longitudinally instead of short term. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is, I have a business and it brings me passive income, because I want you to keep in mind, once you have converted a person from somebody who saw your ad to they have bought something of yours, and preferably have also signed up for your newsletter, so you have a way to contact them when you have more content, they are in theory with you for life until you do something or don't do something that is beyond the pale for them. It's just too much. Either you were silent for too many years and they're like, I don't know why I'm still subscribed. I'm subscribed. Or they're like, I can't believe they said that. I absolutely disagree. Unsubscribe. So in theory, they're with you. So thinking about how much it costs to convert each person from just a regular old person to somebody who is going along on your journey together. They want to read your content. They look forward to the new books you put out. They are here with you to support you in their small capacity. That's y'all, I'm going to tell you now, you'd be lucky if it costs less than $15 per reader. But again, think about the fact that, yes, that is a rather high upfront cost per person. And you may have to actually pay more. But they're with you for life until you know, unless you do something where they leave you because it's essentially a friendship divorce. And so be thinking about that. So we used to literally then, the 3rd and 4th year of the video store, and the 5th, and the 5th year, we would think about how many new customers we need to pay for the new improvements the employees wanted. Like, they wanted a faster computer because I let all the employees do their homework and on the computer when we weren't busy. In fact, I told them they had to, because everyone had to keep a B average if they wanted to stay on the calendar to schedule. And they were like, we want a better computer. And I'm like, okay, let's, I've had it costed out what it costs to upgrade the computer. It's going to be $500 more. And I've talked to Billy Bob, that was his real name, who owned the goat farm. And I just remember his real name now. And the satellite dish company. And, I'm like, we need faster internet. And he's like, okay, this is the fast, but it's going to cost you $45. So I don't think you want it. I'm like, oh, we will pay $45 a month if you can get me faster internet. Because they wanted that. And so it's like, how many more customers do we need to convert as regulars in order that, and then therefore, how much more do we need to spend in advertising, which meant how many more flyers need to be put out, how many more, radio ads need to be made. We literally would figure it out that way once we understood how much it costs to convert regular people into return customers at the video store to pay for the bills. And that is exactly how you need to be thinking about this. Yep. Because you, whether you meant to or not, you have started a part-time business. Welcome to business ownership. It's a fun and exciting place where it's legal to experiment on human psychology.
Which is also why, I don't like talking about platforms too much, because customer acquisition costs on Facebook, for example, are around $56 to $80, depending on the market you're trying to get into. That's a really deep hole for an author to get out of. Mm-hmm. Like $15 sounds like a lot. $56 to $80, that's insane.
The radio station guys were like, oh, we're so sorry. It's costing you so much. And they started throwing in free ads. And I'm like, I appreciate the free ads, but believe me, this is cheaper than industry standard for video stores. Like video stores, the industry standard, depending on what part of the country you live in, was $25 to $45 to acquire a new customer.
Yeah.
which is partly why rental companies went out of business.
Which is also why you can't rely on how other companies are doing things. A large, like a big 5 or big 4, I don't even know how many publishing companies are out there. The reason they can, when they do spend money on ads, is not to actually sell the book. When what was the last one? Was it House of the Dragon? That was the TV show. The book that was based on, I can't remember. The Targaryen history book that was based on. I was getting ads for that everywhere. The whole point of that was not to sell me that book. It was to let me know, okay, Winds of Winter isn't out yet, but he does have another book and project that you can spend some time on. Please, eventually we'll get Winds of Winter, we promise. But here's this thing for now. It was a customer retention ad more than anything else. So when you're seeing a lot of those like big name brand authors, those ads are not really to sell you the book. They're probably because they know that they have a movie deal where they've got points on that movie and they need to start priming the pump so that they can get their return from that movie deal or that Netflix series or what have you. So they can afford to spend a lot more money than you or I ever could because they're looking at other residual means of making income off of it.
Also, and I really want to point this out, this is something that I have learned the actual hard way in 25, 30 years of doing sales and just in general operating businesses. Here we go. You have no idea who's laundering money. So do not follow the business practices of money launderers.
Yes.
Because that is a great way to get rid of your money. When if you really want to get rid of your money, you should just send it to me. It will definitely go to a good home. I'm just here to tell you. There's no need to launder money. Just send it to me. I will take care of this. I will take care of all your excess money. You do not need a cocaine addiction. You don't need to launder it through questionable business practices. Send it to me and I will take care of it. But like, you would not believe how many different companies, both small, private, large, public businesses, are actually money laundering through various practices and techniques. Yep. You need to be wary of following any kind of business style strategy or ad campaign similar to another business unless you know for a fact these people are hungry for profit. Because, oh my God, it's either they're laundering money or they're guzzling their money on drugs and or prostitution and human trafficking. You would not believe what I know about what is happening. Like, it used to be this implication of the dark underbelly of society. Y'all, the underbelly has all sunlight now, okay? It is not in the dark recesses and alleyways of human society anymore. It is out in the open.
Go look up the Panama Papers.
And it is still evading taxes. So, again, be very careful of following any business strategies or ad campaign strategies from anyone that you do not know for a fact is definitely profit hungry. And people can talk a good talk, but do they walk the walk? And that is what I have also learned. People can talk so good. They have such pretty words, and they are all full of turds. So it doesn't matter how articulate, how persuasive they are. It's about the walk and not the talk. And the only way you're actually going to figure out the walk is to get up close and intimate with their lifestyle, to essentially stalk them, or if you can meet them in real life, to truly just spend time and hanging out. Because I promise you, with your like, here's a sign I learned the hard way. If you go to their freezer and you're like, what are these blocks that are wrapped in aluminum foil? And they're like, oh, ignore that. That's nothing. Do not ignore that. Leave the house before the cops show up.
Yep.
Never go back to their house because you do not want to be implicated in a raid. It is either cash or drugs.
Yep.
And or keys to private villa. Like, it's laundering. Again, it's laundering. Stay away from people. Anybody who has unlabeled aluminum foil wrapped things in freezers. It's never good, by the way. It's never good. It's never what I think it is was, oh, delicious goodies. Is it dessert bars? The answer is no. It's never dessert bars. Why is it not good food? It's never chocolate. It's never dessert. It's never a little cake. I'm in the all of this is cash.
So
And
for
why
most
is
of
it
Cake.
why
With
is
the
it
exception
so-
of, I have once or twice heard, the other side of the horror story when, it's the wedding cake that they're waiting another year to eat. Don't eat someone else's wedding cake.
don't eat
They
someone's
get very
wedding
upset.
cake topper. But anyway, that's a whole nother matter.
So the kind of marketing that most of us are going to be doing is actually going to be content marketing, because it's something that we have access to. It is something that we can do very inexpensively to free. And it's going to have the best bang for your buck. And when I say that, not just you need to think about your time as money when you're doing this. Anytime you're investing any time in promoting a project, that's money that you're not making somewhere else. I mean, if you really want to have a business mindset when it comes to this stuff. So ask yourself, what ephemera can you capture? Can you take scenes that were cut out of your book and turn them into deleted scenes that you can put out on the web somehow to bring people in? Are there notes that you have, author character profiles that you could gussy up and make human readable? And everybody laughs at me when I say I need to make my stuff human readable. Y'all know what your notes look like for your characters. We all have to make
Yeah,
human readable.
I know what human readable means.
But stuff like that you can put out there and get yourself either a World Anvil account or just put them out as character profiles on your blog or in your newsletter or in other places to actually get people interested. We are all making so much ephemera on top of the books that we are creating that can be repurposed and turned into marketing content.
Mhm.
And that is the stuff that will really bring people in when people start understanding how the story came about. Remember, we're selling meaning, and I cannot stress that enough. We're trying to give people a sense that it is worth spending their time with us. If they start seeing the care and the craft that you're putting into making this, if they start seeing, oh, these interesting ideas that they wouldn't have thought of putting this with that to make this thing in the backstory that might not even be all that important. Maybe your character likes a special magical kind of tea that exists in your fantasy world, and you, because you have a problem that makes you have elf shoes in every one of your settings, have written up exactly the taste profile of this tea and where it's grown and the sweet little fairies that make it come about. Share that with people. People love minutia. People love the little details, and then they'll care when they see it in the story in a way that you similar to you do. Whatever it is that you're creating, share it.
I can't tell you how many cookbooks I've gotten that were based on stories,
right?
That I'm just like, I must know what the ingredients are so I can make this myself.
How about
or just to read and
how about
enjoy.
the fan competition for how true fan are you of any particular writer or author by the question of, all right, what do they call their coffee or tea? Every author, especially sci-fi fantasy author, has a not quite, but it's just coffee or tea in their story because they.
I was literally just thinking about it, about all the name, Rex, Gino, whatever.
Unless you're Anne McCaffrey and you created a recipe that is in the Dragon Lover's Guide to Pern Foreclaw, and let me tell you, it's hot chocolate with a sousson of coffee in it. It is wonderful and delicious, and I never would have put honey in my in my hot chocolate until she told me to put honey in my hot chocolate. And oh my goodness, every time I get wistful for those books, I pull out the cocoa and make it. Oh.
Yep.
But it's those little details that bring people in, and that's the content that we can give away for free. It's not a spoiler to be like, oh, here's what this beverage tastes like.
If you like making... people want a vampire cookbook.
Oh no.
You'd be surprised.
Here's some A positive, here's some O negative.
Do you know how many goth cookbooks I have that are for various cocktails using Chambord and other things that make what look like a goblet of blood from a movie? Like, there are ways to actually do that.
I have done it too. Yep.
We had to rebrand one of them because one of my favorite cocktails is the Vampire's Kiss, which is a wonderful Chambord cocktail. and we rebranded it to the Lover's Kiss, and we can't make them fast enough around Valentine's Day because they're freaking delicious and they're beautiful in a cup.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't tell people their coffee origins. So good. Yeah, there are ways to get around this. I have the official Final Fantasy cookbook that has recipes in there for making health potions and things that are all beverages, most of which are actually non-alcoholic, with a, if you want it to be a little bit more adult, add this liqueur to it in the side margins. There are ways to get there.
Steph says, in my series, there's a lot of coffee being ordered, and so far I've managed to have each character a different favorite.
Nice.
You know, just keeping with that truth.
Yeah, but like, readers love bonus content. Like, and I don't mean love, I mean love.
Yep.
Like, they love the bonus content.
I love when books have like a playlist that you can listen along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like, this is the music that I was listening to when I wrote it. Or maybe it was just like, here's songs that go with the story. So listen while you read.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Or
kind
here's
of.
this character's playlist.
Exactly.
Which is a way you can market your book on Spotify and Apple
Mhm.
Music, and I don't know which other ones let you do
Mhm.
public playlists like that. But
Mhm.
I know both of those let you do that because people will be searching for a specific thing. Make sure that in your description, you're describing the music so that people's search terms will pull it up. And now all of a sudden, they're seeing an ad for your book. That costs you nothing. A lot of us are making these playlists to write to already.
Mhm.
Hence next week's show.
Yes.
I'm not currently listening to mine right now. I would never.
I feel like yours right now is just a lot of heavy breathing and polite sighs.
Maybe some violin music. Yeah.
A little bit of light violin.
Yeah.
I think it's technically called Nightcore.
The sound of hellfire burning lightly in the background.
Mm.
Versus, Glory's description of a friend of hers, music. Music to murder by.
Yes.
As one does.
He was so upset at the time when I said it to Everett. We went to the first live performance of a piece of his. We're so excited. Y'all, it's 20 minutes of murder music. It's like his wasn't the only piece being played. It was like a whole like an hour or two of saxophone ensemble. And then his came up. His was the last. And it was a 20-minute piece. And afterwards, when the whole thing was over, everybody clapped, and then we're getting up, and I go find them because we had to sit in different seats, different rows. And we're chatting, and his wife is like, "So what'd you think?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's great murder music to murder people by." Just all the blood drained from his face. He's like, "What?" I was like, "Did you not hear the stabby stabby in your piece?" I heard the stabby stabby, like a murderer driving to go kill people. Like, he's like, "What?" And I was like, "You should really have listened to your own piece. I feel like you didn't." But I was like, it's gonna be great for when I'm writing. And I need my killer to be driving to the place. I can practically hear the rain on the asphalt. And afterwards, like months later, I was like, I hope you weren't offended by that. I wasn't saying that to be rude. And he's like, no, on the way home, his wife had said she's not wrong. And he re-listened and he was like, oh, I hear it now. That was not what he had in mind when he composed it. But then we heard, he's like, oh yeah, I could really now see it, in one of those movies, like TV movies where the killer is driving to go do the murder. And we montage that of like, this is the music that plays over the montage. And he was like, yeah, I could definitely see it now. Okay. But I was like, I think it's a wonderful piece. And then when I needed to murder a character, I actually asked for a link to a copy of the piece. And he's like, do you have somebody you're going to murder? And I was like, I have a character who's going to go murder somebody. And he's like, I knew it. It totally puts me in the mood of that mindset of, yes, I'm going to do it. There's tarp in the trunk.
But
Duct
the
tape in the
moral of
glove
the story
box.
here is don't get caught up in a lot of the hyper self-aware, cringy advice that's out there. Like, yes, cover reveals can be great, but they're not the end all be all. Like, you're not going to sell 1,000 books because you timed your cover reveal to just the right moment. Giving away the title reveals, yes, okay, fine, they're wonderful, but you're not going to sell 1,000 books because you timed your title reveal just right. Like, these are things that we writers care about, and that we writers are like, ooh, and I can't wait to show you this, and I can't wait to show you this. Readers are just like, what is it about? Why should I care? Why do you deserve my money? And that's the mindset that you have to be in with all of the content that you're making. If you can sit back and think of if you're writing something that's slightly humorous, a funny moment of dialogue that you can just write off and send out on your social media to just get people going, who are these characters? Right? That's better marketing than all of the advice that you usually get about make sure you're doing this stage and then this stage and then this stage, because your readers, well, yes, that helps build excitement if they're not already there. If they don't already know you exist, if they're not already waiting for your book, you're going to do a cover reveal and hear crickets in the background because there's nobody there to see you pull the tarp off.
Like, this is going back to a previous show, I think. I don't know. But when we were talking about memeing your story, of creating content that people can share between them and build up interest. And once people see those memes and they are discussing those and what kind of story is this about, then those are the people who are interested in what's the book cover? What else could we learn from this? But until you have sparked interest, it's not doing much. But like, I liked Stephanie's book cover for her latest one, Love and Lattes, I think. I just saw it on Instagram, so of course, who knows what my dyslexia has rewritten it as. It's very simple. It's got a very particular romance chic look, especially the image she's using and this, title, but it tells me very quickly what kind of story it is. And if I'm in the market for this, I'm very much in the market for this. Which I feel like the market is, do you talk to your friends about skinny girl cocktails? Then this is probably a story for you, is what that cover says to me. And that's, a great way to build up interest. It's similar enough to other things to already have that image recognition. We were talking about with Blair, Pixar and, other major studios put out this stuff years in advance, just so people have familiarity and recognition in the back of their brain with it. The art style Stephanie used for her latest book also does something similar. It's using a similar style to a particular type of storytelling and a type of personality. So it instantly feels familiar.
I need to feed the whining boy. I will be back.
I mean, he is standing up, just staring at the back of her head.
Excuse me, Mom.
Did you know what time it is?
I know you can read my mind.
My tummy is a rumbling.
So remember, what you're selling with your book is a feeling. I keep going back to that, and it's really important. You need to understand, is your book primarily a story of dread? Is it a story of fear? Is it a story of delight? Is it a story of longing? Like, just in the romance genre, all of those could be romance books, because I've read books of, what if he doesn't like me? And the whole book is, what if they don't like me back? And they're stories of dread all the way through. I've read romance books where it's like, hey, baby. And they're all just like, when is this going to happen? That anticipation. Know what the emotion is that you're selling. And that is the content you need to be marketing your story with. You need to be getting people to have that feeling so that they know what they're buying into. When I say that it's about giving people a sense of meaning, the meaning is derived from satisfying that urge that you said that you're doing. Are you writing a story that's going to make people feel triumphant, your marketing should give people an inkling that you can actually do that. Like, we're going to overcome the bad things. Your marketing should give me a feeling that I can do that. If it's going to be dark and dismal and everybody's going to be dead at the end, give me the dark, give me the dismal. Sell me on the fact that you can deliver on the promise you're making, because that's how you get people in.
I mean, I feel like for Laura's stuff, just showing the artwork, you know, in whenever you see, you know, whenever we see Laura's stuff, just showing the artwork for the marshmallow in the mug.
Yep.
Alone really gives you a sense of what kind of story you're going to get.
Yes.
Or marshmallow. Nothing drowning.
Because book marketing, it's so cliche to say it, but it's about making a promise and delivering on it. It really is fulfilling on that promise that you're making. And so everything that you do to market it, if you're not going out there and going, trust me, I can give you this feeling. This is the emotion you're going to have reading my story. Because that's why we like the genres that we like. That's why we like the writers we like. Look, I overthink everything. I'm a bit of a problematic soul, and I have a thirst that is unquenchable. I love Lestat, the Lion Court. This is how she tricked me into reading her stuff. She went, "Hey, Charlie, have we got the vampire for you?"
Yep.
And this is what the TV show did. Like, are you problematic? Are you into all the people that you shouldn't be into? Do you just constantly want to be thinking dirty thoughts? We've got a show for you. That's all the show's going to be. It's going to be wonderful. You're going to be on the edge of your seat. And they delivered. They gave me the emotions that they told me that they were going to give me. Yes, he's going to overthink everything and ruin his own life. So relatable. I love you, Lestat. Never change. But that's what I'm signing up for. That's why I'm in on these stories, right? I think it's why I enjoyed the Rings of Power series more than anything else. What I got from the marketing is, I'm going to give you a beautiful escape to a Tolkien-esque world that you're just going to sit and stare at and go, wow, this is pretty. That's the marketing that I got. That's the show I got. Luckily, I actually liked some of the characters in it and some of the storylines that are in it. I kind of want to be a Harfoot, but I'm too tall. But it made a promise to me that it fulfilled. Now, other people thought that they were getting a Peter Jackson movie or something else. But that's a problem in the marketing. You have to be clear in what you're getting. The quickest way to get a bad review is to trick the wrong person into reading your book.
Mm-hmm.
That's why massive book sales are not always the best thing that you can get.
It's true.
If you trick somebody into reading your book and it is not exactly the genre that they thought it was going to be, it's not delivering on the emotion they thought they were going to get from it, you're going to get a 1-star review, and hopefully it's just the 1 star, and they don't go on to write a novel about how you let them down. Because a lot of these people will then go on to write their own novel about how you let them down. And that's going to hurt you in the long run. While we are both trying to attract readers, we're also trying to scare away the readers that are not in our target market. I don't want you cluttering up my ratings with bad reviews because this book is not for you.
I'd say, and to sort of give the special use case for something we discussed earlier this season of never to go do, here's the one time as a writer you should go on Goodreads. And that is, go find the other books that you think are very similar to your own. The ones you find that you think are similar, so their readers, you think there's a very high share over with their readers. Find the people who left reviews. Those are the influencers you want to approach to get to read, because they've obviously already got an inkling and want to go discuss their opinions with others. They took the time and effort to go write a review that you think also shows that they are the type of reader for your book.
And quite honestly, Goodreads, often people have their settings so you can just cold contact these people.
Yep.
And say, hey, I liked your review. Could I interest you in a free sample, or even if you're interested, a total free download of my book? And I don't care what you put, but I'd love it if you'd consider giving a review.
And don't
Most of the time, people would rather put no review in rather than give you a negative review, because they appreciate your kindness of contacting them and offering them either a free sample or a whole free ebook download. And that's fine too, especially if they tell you, like, this one really just wasn't for me. And so it's helpful for you to understand, okay, who is it not for, and what did they say about the book review from other, so you can kind of figure out who not to approach next time. But again, like, a lot of people's privacy settings allow you to, like, cold contact them through Goodreads, for instance. And you can just offer them, like, hey, I have free samples available. I think my book is similar to this book you left a review on. If you're interested, please feel free to download. And if you actually like the sample, let me know. I'll send you the free ebook. And, you could leave a review. I don't care what kind of review. That's absolutely up to you what kind of review. I need book reviews. People understand writers are looking for people to review their book. This is not weird. They understand it. Reviewers are like, yes, give me a free book.
Oh, yeah. When I was a book reviewer, that was my favorite email to get, was like, hey, I have a book. Do you want to read it? And I'm like, well, what's it about? Tell me more. Right. And I thrived off of those emails. Like,
also, you may, like, even just through that, convert that person to a fan. You never know. And I just want to point out how it costs you very little. It literally just costs you your time.
And don't let Goodreads trick you into using their ad platform.
No.
It is trash. I have tried it.
BookBub is a better investment.
Yeah.
They are not into helping you make money and grow your business. They are into you giving them more money through their less effective methods.
And don't use their book giveaway system, because it's basically people that are book collectors, not book readers, that will rush and just click all of the ones that currently they go up when they go up. And you will get no reviews out of it. You will get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just taking stuff away from you and not giving you any.
But that personal touch, that personal contact with another person, again, that is what is going to be worth your time and money and energy. Is making those personal connections with other real life human beings. And that is what is worth your time and effort.
And more than anything, the one thing that we haven't talked about yet is go to conferences, go to conventions, bring your books with you. That is where the hardcore audience for your genre are. Right? Casual readers do not go to book conventions. They don't go to sci-fi conventions. Casual readers, unless it's a like Comic-Con or something like that, where they're there to see the flashy new movie trailers that are coming out, casual readers are not in these spaces. These are voracious readers who want all of the books, and they want them now. If you can go there and find your target market, these are the kinds of people that are going to be reviewing you on their blog or podcast or Goodreads or all three of these. If they like your book, they will be the biggest sneezers, and I hate that phrase, but that's what they're often called, that will help you get your message out. That's where they're at. So if you're writing romance, find yourself a romance convention. They happen all over the country. If you are in the Maryland area, which I know some of you are, and you're writing fantasy and or horror and or sci-fi, go to Otakon. Go to Otakon. Go to Balticon. There are hello, Laura. There are readers there for you. But that's going to be a great investment for you, because while you may not sell a bunch of books there, and if you can get in the book track, always contact them. All of these conventions do have a book track, even the media conventions. If it's just a Star Trek convention and you've got a sci-fi book, contact that convention. They probably have a book track that you can get yourself onto to sell your books. These are the hardcore fans that will be talking about it, because if they like you, they want to have that same experience that they're having with all their other fandoms, i.e., a bunch of people that they can talk to about it and theorize about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do not neglect going to these conventions and selling them.
I know it's hard for introverts because, like, people.
But
I know.
again, these are people who are already primed and interested in what you got.
I just so much I hear from introverts about, like, I don't even want to email these people. Like,
look, I'm going to be quite honest.
First thing in the morning,
You could always hire me to do it for you.
yes. either you have to pay money to pay people, wonderful people like Megan, to do it, or drink that coffee and do that first thing. Hello, sweet Roy.
Oh,
look at that! What a little image.
It's a perfect, like, Christmas image.
Yeah, it is.
The holiday tree right behind.
It's just so cute.
Oh.
That is a dog that knows you have the treats. You have what makes him happy.
Yep.
But
and now he's sitting. He's being a good boy.
Good training. I mean, and I like and Carrie points out, look for events at your library system. Her county library is always having events to promote writers.
And I know that my library, at least, has a program where they let local authors come and talk about their books, but you have to, like, set it up with the library beforehand. But that's a great way to get your book in front of, a local audience.
And I know
would be interested in it.
And I know you are all going to call me a liar when I say this, but if you can do a YouTube or Twitch live stream, you can do these kinds of events. It is a similar kind of pressure that you feel. I do not like doing public speaking. I am mortified. You can ask Brian the nightmare fuel that I go through as I'm waiting for my panels to start when we go to a convention. But you just go there, keep your eyes fixated at the door at the back of the room.
Yep.
And just say your piece. If you're on a panel with other people, just look at them. You're talking to them. Forget the room is there.
Yes, it is absolutely okay. They understand.
There are ways.
We're not their first writer, author.
Yes, they understand. Your fellow writers understand that I'm just going to focus on you, and I'm not going to look at the audience like that. Even the audience understands. Of, like, a lot of them are also introverted or they're shy, and they absolutely understand. They're just glad you took the effort to come out and to drag your little butt out to the convention or the event. They understand the effort.
And find an extroverted friend that is willing to work the till.
Yes.
Nothing will help you more than when somebody comes up to you and you get the deer in headlights of, wait, you want to buy my book? Wait, what? Your extroverted friend, hi Brian, can pop in and be like, oh, I've got, which book do you want? We have more than one.
Y'all, the feeling when people hand me money. That's so good. I love it. I don't care if I don't even keep the money. It just makes me happy. Like, yes, let me run the box. Take all your money. Here's your product. Enjoy. Bye. I love it. I feed off of it. I have this fantasy where Tom and I go to festivals and sell, like, popcorn and candy apples. And in my fantasy, I am the one actually taking the money and handing everybody the food. And Tom is in the back making kettle corn out of a big kettle. And it's just, I was like, this is perfect. He's like, yeah, I understand. Like, I just want to be with the people, but they come to me. Yeah, I agree. You need an extroverted friend to do the money.
So Glory, can I fly you up here?
I am absolutely available. I do, in fact, have a passport. So I am here to do it. I am like, oh yes, I'm also, Yeah,
we have fan expos up here, so
I love it. Yes.
But it really isn't as hard as you think it is. If you work with the conventions, they're looking for people to talk. They rented the rooms. They need to justify their budget to whoever's on the committee above them. They need the rooms to be full. You can often pitch them a topic that you are comfortable talking about, and they will find a room to set you up in. Yep. And often with other people that are willing to talk on that same topic so that you're not there alone. There are ways to do this. And like I said, if you can do YouTube, you can do this at a convention.
I agree. If you can do YouTube,
Yeah.
it's honestly not that dissimilar. In truth, especially with the chat going, it's very similar because that's really very similar to the experience with the audience. Audience will talk, but they're not so loud that nobody can hear you. And just like with live streams, it's often a lot more fun when multiple people are on the panel rather than by yourself. Be sure to let the convention or the event organizers know that you would prefer not to be the only person speaking, that you would like preferably several people so that the pressure is not solely on you to keep people entertained for an hour. And they will try their best to make sure there's people. But again, if you have that extroverted friend, you just be like, nobody came here, get up here and talk, like, and interview me, something, you know, like, trust me, the extrovert's available. I've done that. I love, like, hand me a mic and I am ready to be the MC, y'all. I love it. I am dangerous around a mic, like, oh, I will run the room. I love it.
That note is, if as long as things continue the way that they look like they're going and it feels safe to be out there, next July we're going to be getting back onto the convention circuit, starting in Maryland. So if anybody is either going to be able to get out there or is interested in it, let me know, and I will include you when I'm talking to the conventions out there to try to get you. Well, I won't talk to the one convention because she won't let you sell your books if she knows you know me. It's just to say bad things about me. She'll give you all the prime stuff. I'll tell you which convention that is later. But you know, find friends. Writers often attend these things in groups, and that's where it really gets really good. Because if you like one writer and you see them hanging out with these other writers, you start asking yourself, I wonder if I would like their stuff too. And you see people just go around the circle and buy a book from everybody that's there.
They do that.
This in-person meeting is very, very good for your career, as long as you feel comfortable, as long as you feel safe. And like I said, depending on how the Panini and everything's going, I think we're going to try to get back out doing this come July. But it's very doable. Do not be afraid, especially because the people that are booking these things, very often the person they put in charge of talent understands the neurosis, the walking neurosis that is a writer, and is often a therapist in real life. I don't know why this is, if how it's on their part, or if it's just them going, here's how I can do free therapy on the weekends because I can't stop. I don't know which it is. But it is way too common.
But like often, like if you are like contacting them and you're like, hey, I'm an author, I have a book, and I see that you have writer tables, but I only have one book. Do you know if there's anybody there who'd be interested in sharing a table? They will do their best. They will go call and email people who've already paid for a whole table and go, hey, what do you think if we give you some of your money back and you just share a table with someone else? You could be buddies. And half the time there's another writer there who is also nervous, who doesn't want to sit at a table by themselves with even multiple books and are like, oh yeah, I want to. They'll find someone. They'll drum someone up who wasn't even going to get a table. But they're like, but they're new and they're nervous and they only have one book. And that person who's like, I was not planning to get a table. But I knew the organizers and they're like, hey, come on, $10. So here we are with our table.
And the smaller.
Hi, my name is Rob. Like, hey, Rob. Cool. He's like, yeah, I was going to come anyway, but I guess I got a table now. Like, okay, cool. I'll introduce you to all the fun people. Cool, thanks, Rob.
And the smaller fan run conventions, very often, again, to justify the space that they've rented, will just have a writer's row that they set up, which is where the other autographs line usually is during the day. But now it's empty because all of the stars are off doing whatever they do at night, depending on the convention. Sometimes that's scary. But they need to justify having that space, so they will just set up and invite all of the writers to come down. They'll just put your name on the table, and it doesn't cost a thing at a lot of the smaller fan-run conventions. So there are ways to get into this that are viable no matter the size of your business, how many books you have, or how comfortable you are with it. First book I had come out, I was sat at a table with a dude from JPL who wrote a book of planetary science. And they were just like, I don't know, you wrote a space opera, he wrote a book about actual space, it's fine. And they put us together, and we had the best time talking, and people would stop and listen to us talking and then buy our books. We would have that moment that, oh, hello there, that shock of, oh, there are people here. And then they would buy the books, and we would just start talking again and drum up another crowd around us, because I'm fascinated by what he was writing about, and we just talked.
I've also heard from convention organizers that much smaller, like this is their first book, writers have contacted them going, hey, your convention's really big or it's like 10 months away. Do you know any other nearby conventions that are cheap or free for me as a writer to sell my books? Because I has no money and, I can only pay for gas and food kind of thing. And they really will contact, because believe me, all convention organizers know all other convention organizers within a 300-mile radius. I promise you this. And they will send out a mass email to all the other organizers going, hey, there's this person. They are a new author. They have a book. They also included a link to their sample chapter. Bye-bye. And they are looking for cheap or free author tables since they only have enough money for gas and food. And I've literally seen emails where it says that they only have enough money for gas and food. Can anyone do free or cheap author tables? And then they'll all start replying back to everyone else about, okay, well, I talked to the, our board, and we can give them this, I'll contact them. And other people are like, they'll just start organizing, because again, if you're in any fandom, and we're talking about real life, person to person part of fandom, you understand you have to support the fandom, which means you need to support local writers, because that's who's coming up with the news stories.
Yep.
And they really do get it. Yay! Woo. And they really do get it, and they really are trying to just genuinely be supportive. They're not asking for you to necessarily feel obligated to get a table at their convention later. They understand. So just keep that in mind. There are scores, if not hundreds, of people in this world who wish to support you as a writer. They just, again, in sales, there is a saying, here we go, buckle in. People don't care what you know till they know that you care. Yep. I want you to think about that. People don't care what you know till they know that you care about them. So how can you make your readers and other people who are supporting you feel appreciated? Yes, of course, saying thank you is a great move. But also remember, this is again and again, because they are hoping, for instance, these convention organizers are hoping that when you get bigger as a writer, you will remember them and still come to their little show. And that you can then be a draw to draw people in, because you could say, oh, they have been coming here. They've been coming every year for 10 years. They want that. They are hoping you will pan out as one of those people who understands loyalty. And so keep that in mind. You're building relationships. You are building connections in your business, with your readers, with your supporters, all of that. This business, all businesses really, are about relationships.
So don't be rude to people.
Try your best to at least be civil.
And if you
not
don't,
possible, try that.
And if you don't have the money to go to these conventions, as far as for the passes and stuff, remember, they need volunteers. They are willing to work in trade. A lot of them, especially in the sci-fi community, always run charity events at the convention. A blood drive, some food, or a toy drive, and they need people to man those tables. They need people there to give people their badges as they're checking in. They need people to do security, which basically means you walk around and call actual people that will deal with things when bad things happen, but you're just keeping an eye out for trouble, right?
I need to go feed the dogs. I will be back.
So there are things that you can trade for entrance into these things that are, again, not hard to do, and sometimes might mean that you get to hang out with some of the celebrities there because they always need somebody to basically run point so that they can sneak the celebrities from their room to the convention floor, because they always want to go outside of the back rooms and the back halls and schmooze with people, and they need somebody to be like, maybe we need to keep our schedule and not go to the bar right now, please.
But like essentially, and if you don't find people who are supportive, move on. Don't waste your time. If you find convention organizers who are not helpful or supportive, or go, that's not my problem. When you did not say it was their problem, you were simply asking for help, then again, move on. You don't need to be loyal to people who are not loyal to you. I just want to point that out because we're talking to neurodivergent people here, and neurodivergent people like tend to be a little low on oxytocin. And oxytocin is very important for your brain easily deciding who do you bounce the ball back to. And so again, people who are not loyal to you do not obligate you to your loyalty. So I do want to point that out. If we are about ready to wrap up, then I'm ready to talk about next week's show.
That works for me.
Okay. Why, yes. I do have another little banner. All right. Here we go. Next week's show. Bring out your playlist. Bring out your favorite ambiance videos. Everything that helps you as a writer communicate that vibe while you're writing. I mean, maybe I'm the only one who like has to get in the mood to write. But if I waited around for when I just naturally felt in the mood, I would never write. I would probably write once a year, maybe once every 3 months. So I have to set the mood. I have to eat the right foods. I have to then be in that mood to pull out the laptop and then like the cat. And one of the ways that I do it is I play mood music. I play ambiance videos on my television screen so that I feel it. And our theory was that other writers would also feel that. So as we all next week, or in America anyway, recover from the trials and tribulations of Thanksgiving, we're going to talk about an easy, wonderful subject and have everybody share in the chat, in person, what are their links to their favorite songs, their favorite ambiance videos, their ambiance playlists, whatever they've got, so that maybe other writers can find these to help them set the mood, whether you're like me and you need a playlist to go murder characters by. It's like, I love my characters. I don't want to murder them, but sometimes they need murdering to move the story forward. Yeah. And so I have to be in the mood to do it. And so like how to set the mood, whether we're talking about setting a murder mood or setting a happy mood because you want to like characters in love. Again, that was another one that I was struggling with at one point. So I was trying to write romance, and I found within a week of writing romance that I no longer felt romantic. And I was like, how am I going to remind myself what love feels like? Music. Could I interest you in a music playlist? So our theory is we're not the only ones in this boat, and that you also may have playlists or have advice on setting the mood and getting yourself in that mindset, whether it's taking a walk or doing other activities to then write.
Sounds fun.
That is all I do, is listen to music, hoping that something in my soul will come back to life.
And I'll do things a little differently, so I'll bring some playlists that are not music.
Well, I have a whole playlist that's just ambiance videos. I think it's like got 300 videos in it right now. Everybody's always surprised that I actually found ambiance videos for drippy dungeons. But it's like I had to write about like a couple scenes in the sewers of Paris, and I needed that drippy feel with that echo. And it turns out people have made ambiance videos of just this exactly. As well as, of course, I do have the ambiance videos for it's a library with a fire and it's snowing outside and here's your drink. So, yes, I have all sorts of ambiance videos.
And here's me thinking that you're ghostwriting for Matt Baum and his podcast.
No, it was actual sewers of Paris and a talking right who wears a lot of ruffles and rides around in a purple Barbie dream car. Because that's what his human pet likes, to see him dressed as Prince. And they live in the sewers of Paris because of course they do. Yeah, so I needed that echoey drippy feel. So yeah, because I just couldn't get in the mood. I couldn't quite write it correctly because I feel like that setting is very distinctive. And it is not a setting I can literally locate Mississippi. We do not have those kind of sewers, let alone they're not that big, because South Mississippi is right at sea level. So there are 0 basements here. So that was like really my challenge. And thankfully ambiance videos came through for me. So there is no setting that we can't find an ambiance video for. If you'd like to challenge us, please feel free in the chat, in the comments, on the community page. Let us know. If you're like, I have a hard one for you, find me this ambiance video. You might be surprised what I can actually locate. But as a research reference librarian, I am up for the challenge. So with that, I shall wave you all off into the sunset with just a quick reminder that we are going to reconvene at the top of the hour in the Unicorn Council Discord server. If you are not already in the Unicorn Council Discord server, I would like to point out that I have a Linktree link down below. That is my Linktree link. And at the bottom of, when you click on Linktree, at the bottom of the Linktree is a Discord invite. That should get you in. We're going to meet in the clubhouse, in the voice chat, where we hang out. It's sort of like study hall. Some people write. Some people play games. Some people just vibe with us.
That's where I am a vampire.
Huh?
So that's where I am a vampire.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you'd like to come vibe with us in the clubhouse, we do this every single Monday in our Unicorn Council Discord server. So everybody is welcome to join us and vibe a little, baby. Anyway, good night.